Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh. Hold on. There we are. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to No More News. I am Adam Green. It is Monday, June 8th, 2026. Amalek is here. We're going to be going over Christians are under attack all over the timeline this morning, upset about this Steven Spielberg movie, or not even the movie, just an interview of something they're saying. It's apparently being taken out of context. We have Alex Jones clips going over the Israel military integration and saying some other stuff about Israel. We've got Jake Shields and some conspiracy guy, no conspiracy, too crazy. And we're going to discuss the new movement to free Chud's Bible and a bunch of other stuff. What's up, Amalek? Good to have you here again.
Yo, what's up, dude? Another day, dude. Another day in Abrahamic clown world. More kvetching all over the timeline. Non-stop, huh?
Dude, they're so... They literally invent things to get offended and feel persecuted and like victims. Another case, this Steven Spielberg. So Defiant L shared this. Says it will make Christians question their faith. And I've already been talking about Disclosure Day and playing the clips of the trailer and giving my analysis and playing the interviews from Steven Spielberg talking about it. This is promoting Christianity by scaring people about UFOs and demons. And I bet you this movie is going to be pro-Christian, a pro-Christian message. You had it right up here. Hold on, look at everybody kvetching about it first. God rules.
I mean, it's everywhere. The entire timeline is literally nothing but this right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Groundhog Day. Yeah, the Christians making up lies so they can pretend to be victims. God rules says, Spielberg just admitted to what we've been theorizing for a while now, that there is a God that is worshipped in every star system, where there is civilization in every planet, in every galaxy beyond. He boasted that his new Disclosure Day movie will have people second-guessing their own faiths. 2,000 likes. AF post. Will have people questioning their faith. A clever way to bait people into watching the movie. That's probably really what it is. Good point, Gons. A Gripper account here says, be Steven Spielberg. Be a practicing Jew. Make a movie about aliens. It's actually about subverting Christianity. They're subverting Christianity. You want to read this one? Can you see it?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me actually just bring up. Okay, I can see it now. Okay, this Christian kvetching over this clip has got to stop. Nowhere in the clip does Spielberg suggest destroying Christianity. He explicitly says that the movie's engaging with the church teachings, you fucking crybabies. Just because you're so desperate to feel persecuted, you are mixing the actual subtext of what he's saying. Spielberg believes that the God of Israel, the creator that the Christians and Jews share, has dominion over the entire universe, including alien life. That's the point of what he's saying. Now, the implication is that aliens, angels, demons, visions, revelation, and UFO encounters may all be pointing towards the same underlying religious truths. That is the psyop. It is not that the Jews are attacking Christianity, but that they are an unexplained phenomenon in the universe is ultimately confirming the authority of the Abrahamic God. Enough with this persecution complex. It's fucking pathetic. Dude, wait until you see the full context of the clip. Wait until you see the full thing. This is completely manufactured, and it's done because that guy, that Shadow of Ezra account or whatever it is, he clipped it totally out of context with like 30 seconds. But even in that 30 seconds, he's not saying what everybody is portraying it as. Breitbart has an article now. Fox News is now talking about this. I just walked by the living room and I saw it was on my TV. Fox News is talking about this clip. Everybody is now talking about this clip. It's totally manufactured. He doesn't say, oh, it's going to leave Christians questioning their faith in God. That is not what he says in this 30-second part of the clip. And then when you zoom out to the full 2 minutes and 20-second context, it's even more like, you'll see. It's so ridiculous. This is the problem with these people, is that they refuse to engage with reality. And what happens is they act like this, and what happens is normal, rational people, many of them who are on the left in general, or maybe they're independents, they look over and they see, oh, what are the right wingers doing? Oh, they're kvetching over this interview that has nothing to do with what they're saying. They're taking it out of context. They're idiots. This problem is systemic in the right. We have got to stop doing this. We've got to stop playing this game. It is so embarrassing to be around.
And also, if it were true and he's trying to undermine faith in Jesus, Christians share the same origin story from Genesis as the Jews. So this would be just as much undermining the Jewish faith as well, which Christianity is. But that doesn't matter because that's not actually what the moral of the movie is going to be. And the movie's going to come out and it's going to end up basically having a pro-religious message.
Absolutely.
Some type of pro-religious message, and they're just all engagement farming, outrage farming, victimhood, victim consciousness, persecution. They love to feel persecuted, so that justifies them on their war path, or the world hates them because they're so right. Like, look at this.
Well, it's that guy from the
Joel
other day
Webben
from when I was
dude.
on. Yeah, remember that's the guy who was talking about anti-Semitism that you were clipping from the other day from the Hitler Hated Christ. So, but my issue is this at this point. You made this observation to me, and I just can't get it out of my head. If you think that the goal of Jews, or in general, or just Spielberg in general, is to, quote, destroy Christianity, you actually don't know anything about how Jews work or how they operate at all. You're actually totally missing the point, Dale Partridge, you fucking noob. This is why these people should not be taken seriously. In 2025 and 2024, 2023, these people were not, quote unquote, red pilled at all on this topic. And now they're coming in and they're totally mucking it up. The point of what they're doing is not, or, what Jews are doing is not to destroy Christianity. Christianity is a tool for them, you fucking idiots. You completely misunderstand what the topic even is and what the critique is when you think this. To even think this is a possible thing that he could possibly think, that Spielberg is like, oh, I'm going to make a movie and it's going to make Christians doubt their faith and it's going to undermine Christianity and people are going to turn away from God. That is so far outside the bounds of how these people think. You guys are totally missing the point. So you're not dealing with reality.
Sam Tripoli says disclosure is all about destroying Christianity.
Oh my God.
Completely wrong. All of this disclosure has got all of the end times, Christian prophecy, Bible, demon, fallen angels, Book of Enoch people in a frenzy. It's got everybody. This disclosure as demons, as UFOs or unknown flying objects, has got everybody believing in the Bible as true and Jesus as the solution. That's the psyop. It's not destroying Christianity. Sam, the same government that's doing this stupid disclosure is the same one that is dedicating America to the Jewish God and are reading all of the Bible through a White House event and are pushing this Christian revival all the time, and then you go, they want to destroy Christianity. Wrong. It's wrong. The goal of Jews is to get you to believe in the Jewish God, and they recognize Christianity as serving a role in doing that. That's the take. That's the conspiracy. Enough of this, all the Satanists hate Jesus, so that means he's real and we got to follow him. Stop with the light switch brain, false dichotomy, scare tactic bullshit.
Also, another thing I gotta say too, like, imagine just like, let's put on the Jew goggles for a second here. Imagine you're a Jew watching the Christians act like this. Imagine just for a second, guys. This is ridiculous. You think that Jews are going to watch the Spielberg movie and they're going to have their face shaken? Absolutely not. They're laughing at it. They really do look at these Christians like goyim, like peasants, like ridiculous, superstitious-minded peasants. If you can have your faith shaken by a movie, then then your faith is so weak in Hashem that you're not even on their radar. They're not afraid of you people and your religion.
Yeah, and Sam, if they wanted to destroy Christianity, there would be people talking about what we're talking about all the time on all the big podcasts and platforms and mainstream media, pointing out that Jesus is a Jewish myth. They don't do it. If they want to destroy Christianity, where's all the boosting that I should be getting? Yes, thank you.
It's just, dude. Because everyone's like, everyone's red pilled and everyone's waking up. But these are the people that are woken up. They're not actually woken up. They don't know what the fuck is going on.
No, not at all. They're completely fallen in the trap and asleep more than ever.
But only on
following the Pied Piper Jesus.
This truth were just known overnight. If the government announced, yes, we have been keeping this from you since 1947, that would mess up a lot of people. And the movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have? And, is God our God only on this planet? Or is God a God for every system where there's civilization, intelligent life, and even...
See, that's what the movie's going to say. God is the God of the aliens too, which is like what the Catholic Church says.
I was just going to say, that's literally the Catholic teaching, and he references it in the clip that he's referencing the Catholic teaching that teaches this. But hold on, just replay the clip. Everyone, does everyone understand that the framing of this on your timeline right now is that he is calling for the abolition and subversion of Christianity? Please replay the clip. And does anybody hear that anywhere in here? None of them have even listened to the clip. None of them have even listened to the clip. They're all going by the original Shadow of Ezra or whatever posts, and they're all freaking out over nothing. Nowhere in this clip does he say this. He doesn't even say the word Christian, I don't think.
He also doesn't say, does he say questioning their faith? Is that what he said? Look,
he doesn't.
It also takes the position of the church.
The movie takes the position of the church. Oh my God.
He literally, I looked it up. I looked it up because I was watching the interview, the full interview earlier today. And then he mentioned this thing and I looked it up. There's also the article, but he talks about how they literally had advisors from the Catholic Church on set advising them on matters of theology. And then if you just right now, anybody wants to go grok it, Google it, AI, whatever you want, just type in Catholic position on aliens and you'll see that there is an unlimited amount of theological debates in mainstream Catholicism today that has the exact position that he's laying out in this movie. The movie is pro-Christian, pro-Catholic. And even in this clip, even in this 30-second clip, it's not even anti-Christian. Under the best scenario we could possibly grant these people, it's not.
Yeah, I've been exposing the trailer, how the girl clutches the cross because she's scared of the aliens and the spooky music. This is scaring people to believe in God. That's gonna be the takeaway of this.
Dude, he says in the interview that there's two perspectives in the movie. There's an A plot and a B plot, and that the A plot is like it's like a guy who doesn't know what the fuck's going on, and that's supposed to be like the audience member stand-in. And then it's a woman who is like in the beginning talking to her cardinal and like figures out that she's like a hybrid or something is what he's insinuating. Okay, so it's those two, that guy and that girl, figuring out that she's like a hybrid from a church experience, from a cardinal, and then it splits and it goes into their story, and then the other storyline is going to be about from the perspective of the church learning as disclosure happens, like how does the church deal with it. The perspective is quite literally one of the entire plot lines and settings is going to be pro-church, pro-Catholic church, guys. And these guys are all acting like it's the end of like he called to the end of the church. Like, what the fuck?
Dude, they always do this. They always lie like the church and Christianity is under attack when it's being boosted and protected and shoved down everybody's throats and utilized and promoted by all the Zionists. And it's like they live in an alternate reality that it's under all this attack. Here's the trailer too that we covered several times on the show already. Also, by the way, I got brave, guys. No more ads. Ads are over. Ads are 2025, more like 2010.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you.
Clutch the cross. Be scared of the UFOs and the demons, Goy. There's also a scene where it has all the nuns. Maybe that was in the other one.
Yeah, he says that the nun is one of the most important characters. Her realization in the interview, he says her realization is one of the most profound and important parts of,
See, so another clutching of the cross. This is scaring people to Jesus. That's what's this doing.
Yeah, the moral of the story they're putting forth, though, is that the Christian, the creator God, okay? Let's just say the creator God, the Yahweh Old Testament creator God, okay, the part of the Trinity for the Christians, or the God himself for the Jews, okay, and Muslims, that creator God is responsible for all of the alien life in the universe, other planets, and that his authority stretches to them. Okay, this is like basically like intergalactic Zionism, guys. This is like the beginnings of literally like intergalactic Zionism, where they're gonna say like God promised to them the planet out there, like, you guys come on, stop this, like we got to stop pretending that this stuff is real. And we've got to call it out. It's fake. All of it's fake. All of it's not true. The text of the Bible is a heavily redacted, there's tons of issues with it. It is prophetic fraud, okay? And the entity in it did not speak to anybody authentically, and that guy's not the creator of the universe. He doesn't have authority that outstretches to other planets and other systems. Like, grow up.
The guy, the Christian Zionist in Congress, he goes, this isn't going to just shake my faith at all. God's the God of everybody, even if there is aliens on other planets. They're like, they'll bow down to Jesus or something. Remember he said that? If anything, that's what the message of the movie's going to be. Aligning with how the government was like bringing in all these Christian Zionist pastors to like give them the details for disclosure so they can warn their flocks and they won't be, shaken in their faith. That's what this movie is. All right, let's hear the rest of this clip, and then we'll watch the full 2-minute version.
Again, and again, when you're listening to this, let's see, is there anything in here that even suggests the subversion or destruction or abolition of Christianity anywhere in this 38-second clip? Because that's how they're treating this clip right here, guys. Just listen very closely.
Mess up a lot.
Just rewind it the last 8 seconds to get the whole thing.
This truth were just known overnight. If the government announced, yes, we have been keeping this from you since 1947, that would mess up a lot of people. And the movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have? And, is God our God only on this planet? Or is God a God for every system where there's civilization, intelligent life, and even developing life? This truth we're just...
That's it. Destroy Jesus. Nice name.
How insane is that? That's how they're taking this clip, guys. Isn't this crazy? I can't think of another time where a clip has been so completely taken out of context. So wait till you see the full thing. It's crazy.
They always do it. Okay, here's the full context. He's not calling for the abolition or subversion of Christianity to the church. The film includes a cardinal, a nun quoting scripture, and believers wrestling with what alien life would mean for their faith. His conclusion is not that Christianity is false, but that God would still have dominion over alien life just as he does over humanity. This is directly out of mainstream Catholic theology. Dude, they're such liars, dude. These people are so...
The we are not alone. So then, if this is your science fiction summation movie, then that clever tagline of Close Encounters, the we are not alone, and the use of the language you are not alone here is quite deliberate and seemingly meaningful.
Yeah, well, it's meaningful for me, certainly, and it's also meaningful for a lot of people who really believe that we have been in communication, but just not been told, with, basically, off-planet civilizations. I think about this, when the great unknown is actually known by some, but not known by all of us, it's that inequity that got me to write the story for Disclosure Day.
I think being even almost sympathetic, certainly understanding to why there is this feeling that we have to keep those who have the known information. There's some sympathy for why they have to keep it.
Well, the movie takes both positions. The movie takes the position of the believers or the curious, the ones that have been certainly deeply affected by this. The Emily Blunt character, she plays Margaret Fairchild. Something has happened to her. She has no idea what it is. She's just like all of us. But strange things are starting to happen to her, and she has to try to understand why this has upended her life. And almost in a second, her entire life goes from normal to...
Oh, thank you, Macrometer.
$100. Rasta Yeshua didn't say anything about aliens. Terry Davis stopped taking his meds and said God was a space alien telling him to write an operating system. Should have gotten high instead.
Good one. Thank you so much, Macrometer. Terry Davis. Who's Terry Davis? Am I supposed to know who that is? This movie will boost Bible sales by 33%, I bet. Yeah, and it's like, it's a movie. He'll probably show the perspective of what like an atheist thinks about the UFOs, and then how the Christians are gonna rationalize the UFOs.
Yes, they're going to create
destroying
archetypes.
Christianity.
Yes, they're going to basically like create a few different archetypes, right? Where like this is one reaction, this is another reaction, this is another reaction, right? And then what happens is that like sets people up in the real world to act in one of those like predetermined archetypical ways, and that's how they're going to set this whole thing up. So this whole thing is just part of like the increasing alien like bullshit psyop. But the other thing too is, you know, from you know your work and the Jesus mythicism perspective, I just want to point this out. Like the way that the ancient world, the ancient Jews and the first century Jews would have seen Jesus, like the character Jesus, was basically as like an outer space alien, just so everybody knows, fighting Satan in space, coming from space. Like their idea of like multiple heavens and layers to heaven wasn't just like this idea that we have today of the clouds in the sky version of heaven, like goofy version of heaven that we have. It was a literal like place above them in the sky. Okay, so in the way that we have the concept of outer space and the atmosphere and things like that, that's how they viewed it in the ancient world. So when they're writing about this stuff of Jesus doing things in the seventh heaven and in the heavens and things like that, it is from like an extraterrestrial perspective. That's why, you know, Carrier named his book, you know, Jesus Christ from Outer Space, because he's being tongue-in-cheek, but at the same time, like it is exactly like how the ancient world would have viewed this in their context. We are just looking at it with like a modern lens of understanding space and the atmosphere and heaven and things like that. Like our modern lens is like changing how they would have viewed that, but it would have been more analogous to like, you know, space aliens basically.
Look at this. I can't believe I haven't heard of this guy. Terry Davis grew up Catholic, computer programmer. He stopped taking his meds, apparently. That's what Macrometer said. And he thought God was speaking to him, telling him to build a public domain operating system written in a programming language developed by him called the Holy See. He believed God commanded him to create this temple operating system as the third temple prophesied in the Bible. Bipolar, schizophrenic, genius. Dude, maybe this guy was the Moshiach and the Jews just didn't recognize it. That's crazy. Catholic things, right? Your brain on Catholicism, you end up going schizo and building the third temple operating system. Crack the Matrix, the real Neo in the Matrix. Crazy. Thank you for that, Macrometer.
Super normal. Or just it goes from normal to, you know, kind of incredible, just in a matter of a glance between a cardinal and herself. And then everything changes from that moment on, and she needs to know why. And then, of course, there's a faction in the film that represents a pretty good position of why, possibly because of ontological shock, social dislocation, if this truth were just known overnight, if the government announced, yes, we have been keeping this from you since 1947, that would mess up a lot of people. And the movie also takes the position of the church. What does this do to the fundamental beliefs that many of us have? And,
see, so the church here in that clip is referencing the literal Catholic Church. He's saying that the position that we take in the movie is that of the literal Catholic Church in the real world and their theology. That is what he's saying. This couldn't be like basically like a more pro-Christian statement. Mm-hmm. Fucking idiots. I hate these people all over my timeline right now. Seriously, they should have like they should not, they're not even free to think and describe reality. Do you guys understand? Like they have no thinking capacity, no ability to understand what's going on in front of us. Like how are they supposed to tackle the political topics of our time when they can't even describe what's happening in real time? This is crazy.
Eve, what is the Catholic Church position on aliens?
The Catholic Church has no official position on whether aliens exist. It's a scientific question, not a theological one. Vatican astronomers and popes like Francis have said the idea doesn't conflict with faith, since God could create life anywhere. They'd even welcome baptizing an alien if one showed up asking for it. Bottom line, if we find little green men, Christianity doesn't fall apart. God's creative power isn't limited to Earth.
There you go. That's the position of the film that he's taking, and these Christians are spinning that into, these Jews want to destroy Jesus. They hate Jesus so much, it's satanic. Dude,
One of the most popular
they're all
articles.
like worse than pearl clutching
I know.
church ladies.
I know, dude. One of the articles I saw when I was like going through through this after I watched that interview, it's like this. It was a really popular article, and it was basically like, can a Catholic priest baptize an alien? Right? Like that's literally like, and it was it was the most popular article I saw on the topic. Right? So in mainstream Catholicism, this is like this idea is, can we baptize an alien? The answer was absolutely yes, just so everybody knows. And if in this movie they fucking baptize an alien, I'm going to lose my shit on all of you. I'm going to come back. I'm going to remember this clip. We're going to remember this one because I will go back and clip this, and I will roast you guys all on the timeline for 2 weeks because this is what's going to happen. They are going to do that in the movie, and it's going to make you all look so incredibly stupid how you pearl clutched and kvetched over this little baby clip when the entire premise of the movie might as well be like Mel Gibson's Passion again. With aliens, like that's what's going on.
The alien's gonna give like a nod. The alien's gonna become an E-Crusader or something, or like there's gonna be something like that. Where the alien believes in the same Christianity.
If they do even like a little bit of like cross imagery or Jesus imagery or wounded hands imagery or anything like that, I will lose my shit. Like these people I'm gonna roast them. I can't wait for the movie to see the movie now actually because of this. I almost guarantee that it's gonna be in there, something like that. Some sort of way of like because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to blur the line between religious revelation of the ancient world and UFOlogy and UFO disclosure of the modern world, right? Like that is the purpose of the movie, is to smash those two things together, guys. So there's almost no way that there's not going to be something like that in the movie.
Yeah, Ben and G has a good point. They don't care that they're wrong. They want it to be anti-Christian. They get off on people hating on Jesus. The world hateth me, right? That's just like Jews. They have that world hating you means you're good persecution complex. You're right. They manufactured outrage. That's what they like to do to themselves. So they can feel like victims and feel and worship Jesus harder. That's what they end up doing.
Only on this planet, or is God a God for every system where there's civilization, intelligent life, and even developing life?
The nun in the picture is a really important role. Includes the line, she's quoting text, but ending with on earth.
Right.
So it's gonna. I bet you they're gonna say that on earth as it is in heaven is going to be like they're gonna advance that somehow as like in the universe as it is in heaven or something like that, and that's gonna be the big huge transitional climactic line for that character development. Is that instead of it being on earth as it is in heaven, the Catholic will say the prayer. Dude, I could basically. He was talking about how he wrote the movie. In the interview, it's actually interesting how he wrote it in his iPad, and it's like 55 pages single spaced, and he just like sat there on his couch over like 2 months and just like wrote it on an iPad, basically is how he wrote it. And I can and he described like parts of the story. I can basically picture exactly how this story is going to go already, and it's like it is going to basically be the most, it's like Christianizing of the sci-fi genre, and he is like the king of the sci-fi genre, and this is his like pinnacle work, guys. Do you understand how influential Steven Spielberg is? He's not just some director. He has had more impact on our culture and our society and our thinking than basically like top 10 most impact of Jews today. Obviously, Steven Spielberg on our culture and our psyche. So like that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with like the modern author of Luke Acts. We're dealing with the modern author, like the modern, not a Paul type figure, but the creative, the Jewish creative archetype. That's what he is, and you can see him at work doing what he's doing. So I don't know, dude.
Zerka just tweeted, every historian worth his salt who set out to debunk Jesus ended up converted and profoundly humbled. So stupid. Yeah, what's his face? Lee Strobel is every historian worth their salt. Sure, buddy. That's so funny. That's so weak. Anyway, let's see some of these retweets of this video. Jake Shields mentions that he's a member of a mega group of Jewish billionaires related to Epstein through, who's the guy from Ohio? I'm forgetting his name in mega group, the lingerie dude. Wexner.
Les Wexner.
UNN says this is entirely Jewish concept of life and creation. Bro, what, Genesis? Christians believe in Genesis. That's the Jewish concept of life and creation. You realize that, right? Talmudism. No, try Torahism. Christians and Jews believe in a Torahism origin story. I don't know, though. Actually, Jews kind of do believe in Kabbalah as a different origin story a little bit. They still believe in Adam and Eve, but also, you know, the vessels and the lights and all that. All right, let's see. What else do we have people saying? Yeah, if a work of fiction made by Spielberg makes you not believe in Jesus, like you weren't a believer to begin with. Good point. All right. Protect your children from Juberg. He means them harm. Oh, don't let them go see Harry Potter. Don't let them drink Monster Drink. Don't let them go see the scary satanic things that make you question your faith or have doubts. Protect your children from their Catholic indoctrination and ration and reason. All right. Looks like they always show the bigger accounts that we tweeted at the top.
Yeah, it's really
10,000 likes for this one.
And I said this to some of the Catholics, and I said this last week, but like, look, like Catholics, like, I don't know what to tell you. You guys have to like look at this issue properly. Like, there's like a middle ground we can have here. Like, you guys, you know, I would prefer you not be Catholic. I would prefer everyone just like grow up. But if you're going to be Catholic, like, it's very clear that this whole like mixing of aliens and demonology, that your church is not okay with it. They've just sacked that guy. They just got rid of that guy. Okay. And this is obviously like a heretical tool being done by like Jewish power guys. Like, all the Catholics can see this. So can we team up against this? Can we get rid of this? Because it's a bunch of like Orthodox and Protestants, and they're all idiots. And like, you know, you have your own motivations, we have ours, but like, there's absolutely no reason why we can't all together hate the alien psyop. So when I see like all these Groyper Catholic accounts doing this, where they're like buying into it and like they're trying to like outcompete the Protestants and Ortho bros in like victimhood Olympics here. And can we just stop this? And like, you guys need to take a breath, analyze the source, look at the clip. As soon as you guys saw that clip, the first thing you should have done, if you're really upset by it, is go look at the full context. And you would have instantly seen that this is like a pro-Catholic message. And you guys, the actual critique from the Catholic people and from the Groypers and people like that should be saying, no, get this alien trash away from our church, because of the things that we've laid out, right? Like their view of this, where their idea is that like the objective here is that Jews destroy Christianity. That is not what's happening. They're trying to fold your religion up into like a Noahide alien cult. Okay.
I just found this. Ben Swan, so former RT host Ben Swan on Danny Jones, talking about all of this is just to make you not believe in Jesus. Watch.
And then like last minute there was a plan for the government to come out and say, A, there is no God, and B, we were engineered by aliens. And then like last minute they scrapped it.
That's what I was hearing also.
That's what I was hearing. That's what I was hearing.
Yeah, the government that shills the Bible and Judeo-Christian values and is reading the Bible and dedicating America to God and pushing this Charlie Kirk Jesus revival on Fox News and Newsmax and all the biggest right-wing influencers and the government and Congress. Yeah, they were going to come out and say we were created by aliens, but then they scrapped it. This is so trash.
Last minute they scrapped it.
That's what I was hearing also. The Bible is not true. The whole Jesus is a myth, and that these things are the old gods, and that they're the ones.
Yeah. The government was going to say Jesus is a myth. Jesus is a myth, and they're covering it up that he was real. That's the actual conspiracy. These guys are inverting the conspiracies. Isn't this crazy? And this is what it's all about. It's all everything they frame in, oh, you're trying to do something to Jesus. The Bible's fake. Jesus is a myth.
And that these things are the old gods, and that they're the ones who have created all life on earth. And that it's pushed by this group of people. They are believers in this, but they are like the foremost ones who are advising on this.
Dude, these hypnotic edits are working for low IQ people. I can feel it in my brain approaching, and if it's working on my brain, it's 100,000% working on their brains.
This whole disclosure thing. And by the way, it's not a coincidence that Steven Spielberg has a movie called Disclosure.
It's coming out any day now.
Yeah, it's coming out in June. This movie is timed for a reason, along with all this stuff.
That's fishy. There was a plan.
I think that too, about the last part.
They get it like 80% of the way, and then they just completely falls apart at the end because they have no like ability to see reality. They're playing in the fantasy world, dude. Ah, man.
Let's see this. It seems Mormons. Hold on. What is this?
About
That's a
joke.
Mormon-
It has become serious now.
Okay.
Oh, it's both.
At the end of the day, what I often joke about, when I say joke,
It's so crazy that they're like, oh, aliens is gonna mean that Jesus is a myth and the Bible's not real and they engineered us. No, the only thing that this disclosure is influencing people on is that fallen angels and demons are real and the Bible's real. And Jesus is the solution from the demonic fallen angels. That's the psyop. That like Tripoli and Ben Swan and these people. But Tripoli works with Ben Swan, by the way, in the World War debates thing. And they're pushing the psyop, and then
So is Cernovich.
kvetching over this is like twisting and covering up and inverting the psyop.
Yeah. It's making it so much easier for them to pull it off because it's hard to get out what's going on in a sea of this bullshit. They provide this like smoke screen, right? That it does nothing but provides cover for the real problem.
Yeah, if they wanted to push that Jesus was a myth and the Bible wasn't real, we have all the evidence of that. They would be pushing that. They don't need to put out aliens to convince people Jesus is a myth. They just have to fucking talk about the things we've been talking about. Like they need the aliens to get people to not believe in Jesus. How about you just show that it's obviously Jewish fairy tale bullshit? Don't need aliens to do that. But they don't. They don't even push that as it is. I can't stand this narrative from these bullshitters.
it has become serious now, is that if there was a ship that showed up and there it is, I'd go up and knock on the door and I would just say, I have a question. You come in peace. Do you acknowledge that Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, is Messiah and Lord, and salvation for humanity is found only through him, and that he came in the flesh? Yes or no? And do you swear allegiance to him and that he is the creator, as Mark was saying? And so
if that's what they say to the aliens, I hope the aliens zap them right then and there with their laser guns.
We have determined with our super AI computer that is fake and Jewish.
Excuse me, supernatural, technological, advanced aliens. You better bow down. Every knee will bow to Jesus. Bow down to Moshiach, aliens. Like, if that's the first thing that we say, they'll be like, take us to your chosen people. Here are our leaders. So straight to the Chabad rabbis. That's what
if
would
aliens
happen.
are real and that's our leading thing, guys, we're toast. We can't let these guys in charge. If aliens are real, you need to put us in charge immediately, because this is not going to work.
Hey, those aliens better say Christ is king or they're going to hell. Yeah, that'll work against the aliens. Yeah,
Also,
they're plasma weapons.
Is this guy a Mormon? What is this guy? It seems like Christians will be only happy if they just act like Mormons or Jehovah Witnessing.
Look, he's got a Rapture app.
Okay, so he's a Protestant of some kind. Dude, these people. Wait, what does it say back there? Only $75.
75
for 6 months. For 6 months of Rapture apping, dude. That's
unlimited
awesome.
access. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Profit watcher.
Yo, can I get an early life check on this guy too? What's going on there?
Yeah. Yep.
And do you swear allegiance to him and that he is the creator, as Mark was saying?
No.
And so it's interesting to me that what we're seeing is, again, that is not the message that we're seeing within the movement of ufology. Is that some of them will see them as potentially nefarious, as enemies seeking harm to humanity. Others, again, like Stephen Greer, see them as our friends. And so at the end of the day, we got to go back to the Bible. Anything that would raise itself up against the knowledge of Christ.
The people he just named are Jewish, by the way.
What?
Those people are Jewish. They're Jewish. Those are Jews. Stephen Greer is a Jew.
Oh.
Or Scott Greer, or whatever his name. Or dude, if you guys don't know about this, go to Blackpill's Rumble channel. He's got type in UFOs, I think, like that. He's got multiple videos that going over each of the disclosure people, like these big names in disclosure. They're ethnically Jewish, guys. Like I don't mean to like be anti-Semitic or anything like that. Lazar, yeah, lots of them are, and they're like not just themselves ethnically Jewish, but the ones who aren't are like legitimately like working with this whole network of what I would call like I don't know. They're these people who are trying to mix like UFOlogy with like Kabbalistic ideas is the way I would describe it as someone who knows about a little bit about both. It's like I said, it's like blending these two ideas together.
Knowledge of who he is and what he's accomplished as the supreme creator of all things in all of the universe. It's not only limited to Earth. That's the key message that I find.
Absolutely. And I think when it comes down to it, we've come to a conclusion here. The conclusion is this: we should not be shaken by these disclosures. We, as followers of Jesus, should not be moved by these disclosures. Our faith should not change. Jesus is the Lord. Yahweh has created all things, and we praise God for that.
It's crazy that there's not Jews kvetching about the movie, that this means Genesis isn't real and God didn't create everything. They act like it's only an attack on Christians when
that's
they
because
share
their faith
the
is
same
so
exact
strong.
origin stories.
Well, that's because their faith is so strong. It doesn't rely. We talked about this before a lot. Is that the Jewish end time story is like a real political thing that can happen in reality. It's almost like that you could just like keep like let's just say a ship did come from the sky and and just come to meet humanity or something like that in some big event, and like that really happened. In the Jewish lore, that idea is kind of like so easy to cope with, like the new Jerusalem coming out of the sky and meeting with God and or meeting with the people and all these other things. Like they could totally easily do this and it wouldn't shake their faith at all. Their faith is it's based on like the Bronze Age superstitions, Iron Age superstitions of the Bible and the Torah, and that's a strong identity they built and weaved over very long time. Meanwhile, the Christian universal one it is not a strong faith identity because it's built on so much falsities in comparison.
He is going to depict in this movie Christians rationalizing and coping about this new information about the aliens and how that still harmonizes in their faith. That's what it's going to be about. And it's top story. Spielberg says alien could shake Christian faith. He didn't say Christian faith. He didn't say Christian. Shocking news. Joel Webbin first tweet. Shocking news. Quote,
he said,
Jewish
our
man
faith.
Excitedly announces his latest movie that has the potential to cause Christians to doubt their faith. Dude, he takes the Catholic position on this, you fraud. In other news, the sun rose in the east this morning. Yeah, because there's not a bunch of Jews promoting Jesus and for you to go to church and the Bible.
They're such noobs. If you think that, dude, seriously, if you think that like one of the things that Jews are trying to do on their list of things is to destroy Christianity, that is so far from understanding how they operate and how they work. You actually are not red pill on this topic. You actually don't understand how they work. If that's even an idea that can fit into your head, okay?
If they've been trying to destroy Christianity, they've done a pretty bad job at it in the last 2,000 years because it turned out to like. Also, let's not forget, it was all Jews that started this religion to begin with. Oh, but now they want to destroy it.
They see it as a divine blessing from Hashem, guys. That's what they see Christianity as. It's the divine persecution of Esau against them that provides them their wall of defense against the outside world. Period. The end. That's the theology. That's the basis for the whole thing, the whole system. They see you as a protective wall, an outer shell that can be discarded in the world to come. Okay? Grow up. I need to go to the
okay, look at this. Hollywood has a weird obsession with disrespecting Christianity. Christianity is the most disrespected religion in the world. Oh, no, you're the most widespread religion in the world.
Dude, the Muslims are going to eat this shit up too, I heard. I talked to an ex-Muslim the other day about this, asking him like, hey, is this prevalent in like Middle Eastern and Islamic culture? Like, are they really into aliens? And he said it's like so much worse than I could imagine. He said it's like he compared it to like Midwestern Republican voting, like white people, that are like really into the ancient alien history and stuff like that. He said it's like that's how all of Islam is. That it's like a religion and a people and a culture ran by like the trucker hat white person, but of the brown people, Arabs.
What are you saying about trucker hatters?
But you know what I'm saying? Like that's what he's he's saying. Like the podunk kind of guy, the go lucky, those. I'm not denigrating those people. I'm just saying like that's what he says is like the majority of Islamic thought especially online, and that they just all eat up this stuff, right? So think about how terrifying this is, guys. The Jews could, in like the flick of a button at this point, somehow like create a new world religion that morphs Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and aliens and UFOlogy with the ancient like religions, put them all into one thing, basically one idea, and like half the world's population is under their thumb, with them as the priest caste, and thus fulfilling the the messianic age of UFOlogy demons.
Da Vinci now says, hello, have you ever watched the Deconstruction Zone on YouTube? Yes, I have. He has a theory about Jesus being a resurrection imposter. Thoughts on imposter theory? No, he's a mythical midrash. And Deconstruction Zone does video after video about how Jesus didn't fulfill the messianic prophecies, which I think misses the whole point, that he was a character, mythological character, written to fulfill Scripture. And I'm curious, does he believe the prophecies are real and that Jesus just didn't properly fulfill them? Because it kind of seems like he does think that they're real. I don't know if he's some crypto Noahide or what's going on, but that's the vibe I get.
Well, my thing is every time I like Deconstruction Zone too. People, I'll do something one day again, guys, like a CQ radio style thing where we bring people up live and I just wreck them and do the Bible thing. I do miss doing that. I do miss doing that quite a bit. So I'll bring it back one day, but Deconstruction Zone like is a nice little appetizer for you. But I will say, like, we've talked about this, I think he is entirely trained, and almost all of his arguments are from Tovia Singer and the Orthodox online Jewish YouTube community. So to what degree that's like him being friends with him, which he is. He's had him on before, and he's had his co-host, Tovia Singer's co-host, on before, and there's a lot of like cross-pollination going on there. To what degree that's like intentional or just like so.
And he was a Christian in seminary too, right? This Deconstruction Zone was a Christian in seminary, so it's like just because he seems to be, his main focus is proving Jesus is not the Messiah. That sounds like Tovia Singer, and he has all the same Tovia Singer arguments.
I was gonna say every single one of his arguments is Tovia Singer, basically. Yeah. So when Jay Dyer says that like that's what we're doing, like I know that that's not what we're doing because I see somebody else doing that and I identify it and I could point out to you guys. We could literally do a whole show where we kind of go over what the problems with his version of deconstruction. But like that's not what we're doing. Like that, it's just not. I think what he's doing is like dangerous, and like it is basically like Noahidism, or promoting Noahidism. It's basically converting Christians into Noahides by showing them that Jesus did not fulfill all these prophecies in the exact same way that a rabbi would argue that Jesus doesn't fulfill those prophecies. Meanwhile, it totally takes out of the context that Christianity itself is based on like midrashic interpretation, and it totally like ignores their shared traditions, right? It's like not to overuse this, but it's like a very Jewish way of deconstructing Christianity.
Look, even Mark Levin is hopping on the anti-Spielberg train. He says, I'll be sure to avoid it. Look, Satan is trending. I wonder what that's about.
I hate these people, dude. Oh my God, go up. That IQ meme was so this is so stupid. Look, dude, I hate these people. Fuck off, dude. When I saw that, I like wanted to throw my phone. Actually, no, you're all idiots. You're dumb. You're idiots. If you think demons from the Bible are real, you're an idiot.
If you're like, oh, Jewish mysticism in Book of Enoch is real and Genesis is real, I'm a Jedi. No, you're this guy. Or it's the people pushing the psyop are at the top, getting all of the masses to believe that.
What did they say at the top about this guy? The guy seething? What's that small text say
Don't
up
be
there?
dogmatic. Christianity is fine with aliens. Not everything is demons.
No, they're all dumbasses.
See?
Every single person.
This is the psyop right here, pushing that it's demons.
I'm going to fix it right now. All three of those people are the guy on the left. The guy that's like retarded on the left, the middle guy there, and the guy on the right that's who they all are. They're all retards. What a joke. It's interesting that Levin's getting in on it. It shows that, like, growing up, like I was like a right wing or libertarian culturally kind of guy, or at least conservative. But I watched left-wing media like Jon Stewart and things like that a lot on Comedy Central. I was like kind of tapped into what they were saying, and one of their like main critiques is that how hypocritical and how like pearl clutching conservatives are as they like call out woke. And I think that like extended life expectancy of like quote unquote woke by like a decade, guys. Like that they use that hypocrisy to fuel a decade of woke policies that ended up like, you know, generally hurting white people. Like, let's just be very honest about how that played out. We all know, you know, about how that played out. So this is the cause of it, is when people act like this, it makes people run into the arms of, you know, those types of solutions. I would say is like the woke or the opposite solution to the Christian solution. Or the Christian...
Barracuda makes a good point. He says Spielberg, as an artist, literally being the most influential and prolific Christian moralist in the last half century. It's genuinely pathetic how some Christians can't handle someone posing legitimate and interesting questions about their religion. No, they pearl clutch like triggered church ladies. That's what happens.
Spielberg's films overall have a pro-Christian message in every single way. Go watch I mean, I don't even just go watch them. Go watch them with the understanding that he is trying to do a sci-fi retelling of the Gospels when you watch E.T. and when you watch some of his other movies.
Mm-hmm.
Space Odyssey, or no, that's not him, is it? Is he Space Odyssey? I can never remember. Hold on.
Dude, I'm hyped for movies. I want to go watch Masters of the Universe. I want to watch this.
No, that's Kubrick. Who am I? Which other one am I thinking of?
Dune's coming soon. Story. Game of Thrones is about to start. I might just tune out from politics and Jesus question and just like become a normie and just watch movies and shows for the rest of the year. Let's see what Satan is trending for. How do you do, fellow whites? That's funny. There's Jesus. Okay, I don't even want to see this. Jesus, Satan, it's nothing. All right, let's check out some of Alex's talking about this integration of the military with Israel. He's really been touching on it a lot.
AI, weapon. If you watched Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday's broadcast, I said it is with no
sorry,
pleasure.
real quick. Hold on. Before
I say
it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind is what I was thinking, by the way. Sorry, I messed up. And War of the Worlds are like the two like Christian messaging sci-fi movies. I would say I was talking about. The other one is a Kubrick movie.
Yeah, I want to go see Project Hail Mary, Ashes from Alexandria. And also, I heard they're making. I'm super hyped for this.
Yeah,
one.
somebody
they're making like the Game of Thrones, Aegon the Conqueror and his sister's movie about like the origin of the. They're gonna make a movie of it too.
It's gonna be really cool. Oh, I don't want to get. I could talk for hours about that. It's gonna be interesting how they do the climax of that, because it's like the point of the climax is that it's anticlimactic. So it's gonna be weird. They might change the ending, I think, but we'll see. They don't take Dorne. They don't finish Dorne. It doesn't matter. I don't want to get into the lore of the game.
I don't recall all the details.
The state of Israel and the Zionist state is the #1 threat to America and world peace, and ultimately to Jews and Israel itself.
Dude, Jones, people have been telling you that for 25 years, and you denied it, and you ran cover for it. What a flip.
The Pentagon. Now, here's the big announcement. The Pentagon, 100% in response to the legislation, what happened Thursday, passing out a committee to give Israel, under Section 224 of the National Defense Authorization Act, total access to everything. AI, weapons development, DARPA, top universities, lifetime telemetry, integration, lifetime fusion, integration, synchronization, fusion. When you hear fusion, integration, synchronization, baby, that means simpatico. That means one unit. And Netanyahu's letter bragging that he wrote the plan and wrote what they put in the bill, thanking the committee for passing it. If you watched Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday's broadcast, I said it is with no pleasure that I say.
Here's that letter. This is so crazy. Congressman Stutzman reveals his plan to restructure the entire U.S.-Israel military relationship. Netanyahu calls it his plan. The time has now arrived for us to move from aid recipient to partner. So they're drawing down aid, but further integrating and I guess getting access to stuff. Okay, so here's the letter. New memorandum of understanding with the U.S. that will draw down financial military assistance over the next decade and replace it with what you refer to as a new framework of joint defense cooperation, co-development, co-production, and mutual investment. Oh, dude, we totally are integrating co-everything, co-countries. Advanced missile defense, artificial intelligence, unmanned systems, drones, cybersecurity, and next-generation military platforms. Dude, we can't have this type of infiltration by people blowing up pagers that want to rule the world according to their prophecies with their Messiah from Jerusalem. We can't allow this to happen. That's crazy.
The state of Israel and the Zionist state is the #1 threat to America and world peace, and ultimately to Jews and Israel itself. If you look at second, third, fourth order, I said with everything they're doing, how they've galvanized the world against Israel and now the U.S., the insane level of torture, rape, war crimes that they get caught on video doing, and declaring Amalek, extermination, and then trying to cover that up. You add all that together, it's a perfect storm. In section 224, it says there's a...
He is slowly getting it, right? Like, he's off, but it's moving, it's working. We just got to keep pushing it in, reply guys, and all that stuff to the, this is how you influence people and change their mind, guys. You just got to be annoying as fuck.
I don't know if that always helps. People have been annoying Jones about gatekeeping for years, and I think that might have hardened him a little bit.
Hold on. What I just mean is, like, we have to basically be, when anybody looks out into this to see what everybody else is thinking, they want to put their finger out and see which way the wind is blowing, that they have to think that the wind is blowing our way on this issue. That's what I mean about being relentlessly annoying. I don't mean like to be literally annoying to the person. I mean, we can't let up pressing this idea that what we're pushing. Yeah. What we're pushing is the truth. So we can just keep doing that and we'll win.
Director of the merger program. They say synchronization. They say live time coordination. They talk about fusion. They talk about all of it, all the keywords, and it says what it does right there. And it says this master, they use a particular term. I'll look at it in the break. This czar only reports once a year to Congress, but it's all classified. And no place is more of a black hole for money than the Pentagon.
That's funny.
So he's like taking like multiple real things and just conflating them, unfortunately.
Listen to him now. Now he's talking about, he interviews HT one time and now he's using the same rhetoric about the...
I saw that this morning. I couldn't even believe it. I facepalmed. I was like, oh my God, here we go.
Brewmaster Monk says, anyone that votes to fuse our military with Israel is a legit target. No. Hey. Brewmaster, what are you doing? Disavow. I'm deleting that. The state will not be able to hold... No, we're not doing that, dude. Sorry. Brewmaster. No Fed posting, bro. Come on. We're Fed posting. Disavow. I have to. I hope you understand. It's not funny. Jesus Christ.
Christians.
All right, I got to end on this because this is funny, but it also pertains to everything we've been talking about today.
Well, no, you say it's funny. The only, in Europe and the United States, the only people that are allowed adults to suck babies' penises, not that you want to, it's like, oh, people are allowed to, is Jewish rabbis.
What a lead into a comment.
And there's city council meetings where if you go and read this, they arrest you.
Yeah.
So my point is, it's not.
Oh, that's directly HT that he's talking about there.
And
oh yeah.
And
you just missed. Yeah, you missed that.
Where if you go and read this, they arrest you.
Yeah.
So my point is, it's not all the Orthodox Jews that are doing this, but it's called a moil. And yeah, they had problems with babies getting herpes and stuff.
Yeah.
From the moils. Some have died. And Israel itself's been trying to ban this practice, so it's a little bit embarrassing.
Is that true?
I don't
They
think
might be embarrassed by
all.
it and see it as a health risk.
Actually, they did do a restriction. Hold on, let me look it up. I did see that story. Hold on, I'll look it up. I saw that story on Haaretz a little bit ago. Was religious Jews kvetching that the state was doing something like that? I'll look it up. Hold on.
Has Israel tried to ban oral circumcision? I just asked.
Embarrassing for them. But to all the Christian Zionists, whatever's done by Judaism is now God.
Yeah. There has been an attempt to regulate it because of concerns about herpes infections to infants. In 2002, the chief rabbinate suggested alternate methods of sanction using like a straw. That's what they say. There have been debates and calls for tighter regulation, but no nationwide prohibition has been enacted. Okay.
A little bit embarrassing for them, but to all the Christian Zionists, whatever's done by Judaism is now God, even though there's been 30 plus books after the original Bible. So if Talmudic Judaism says this is good, if you don't support this as a Christian Zionist, you're going to hell. Christian Zionist, Pastor Hagee. If Pastor Hagee doesn't
That's not true. That's still not true, dude. The matter of supporting Israel is not one of salvation to the most hardcore Zionists. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they do say cursed if you curse them.
Correct, but they're not saying that your salvation is dependent on supporting the state of Israel. That is not the argument. That is, I don't know where this developed or who came up with that idea right there, putting those things together. That is conflation of the truth. That is just not true. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
Hagee would probably say to go to heaven, you have to believe Jesus is the Son of God and died for your sins.
Right.
That's usually the requirement for salvation.
But if you want, But if you want blessings, right, and things like that, right, that you'll be cursed in this life, and maybe you will even be cursed in the afterlife, you could say, But that would be the furthest you would take it. To say that your salvation rests on if you support Israel or not, I don't think that there's any Zionist Christians who hold that position. Even Paula White probably doesn't hold that position, right?
Real Vision says Hagee has said that verbatim about Israel. He might. I could see him extrapolating that. Like, if you're not pro-Israel, that's a sin and you'll go to hell. I could see him saying that.
Really? Okay, I would like to see that then in the full context.
Okay.
Baby penis, then he's going to hell.
Right where the child gets circumcised, and then they clean it up with the rabbi's mouth, I believe. And the other one is...
I'm shocked that you guys know what it is, but that's cool.
Hermes.
It's given to us as straight from Moshe Rabbeinu, our leader. No one would disagree with that. Every Orthodox community would do it.
I know one of them is, I think it's called a Metzitza Bupe.
Moses. Isn't it start with Abraham? What's he talking about, Moses? Moses is the one that said to suck it? I doubt that.
Right where the child gets circumcised, and then they clean it up with the rabbi's mouth, I believe. And the other one is...
But listen, I believe that you're anti-Semitic if this is not taught and done by law. I think whenever you have a child, well, it goes to, like, the left wants to chop our sons' penises off. We should just have the rabbis bite their penises, every child's penis off at birth.
Yeah.
No, I mean, why are you being anti-Semitic?
This is going to be taught in school.
Oh, the law and the Ten Commandments was given to Moses. Is that... Circumcision's not in the Ten Commandments, is it?
Well, I mean, obviously you're a Nazi if a rabbi doesn't bite your son's penis off.
Yeah.
You don't support that?
Yeah, circumcision's not in the Ten Commandments. I didn't think it was.
They thought they could drive.
All right. So I don't know what he means by Moses. Maybe the Talmud, where they talk about doing that, they cite something Moses said, supposedly.
He's probably being sloppy about how he's talking about it. I think that I think that it does come from a part of the Talmud. I don't remember exactly, but Maimonides talks about
Moses wrote the Torah and circumcision is in the Torah, it came from Moses. Maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah, maybe. But I know Maimonides talks about it, right? So Maimonides basically because kind of like the Jewish Eusebius in a way, where he kind of like rewrote and reframed a lot of like, he would say like, this lore, or the reason that we're doing this thing is because Moses originally did it, or this guy in the Bible originally did it, or even this guy from the first century rabbis and things like that. And he like traced a lot of things back to that, where I think he was like creating that history. I don't think it was authentic. You know what I mean? In the same way that the early church fathers did with like the book of Acts, that Maimonides does a lot of things like that with Jewish traditions and their version of the Talmud. The later version.
Okay, let's see the latest post from Russell Brand yesterday talking about how much Alex Jones prays.
I have a prayer off. How much do you pray, Alex? Do you pray a lot, mate? Not enough. I can tell from that inhalation.
No.
You're too busy selling methylene blue.
I am constantly in prayer.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't verbally pray. I'm like constantly jacked in.
I understand. Like I do praying on my knees in private. I do a lot of that.
Okay, it's key to get on your knees for whatever reason. Like the body.
It's weird, isn't it?
I love to brag how much I pray on my knees. Jones says, get on your face.
Like the body
It's weird,
picks
isn't
up on the face is what I do.
Let's not have a prayer off like your prayers are better than mine. I actually put my head down the toilet when I pray.
That's funny. I like that joke. Let's have a prayer off. Actually, I put my head in the toilet. That's how much I love how serious my prayers are. Remember when Jones was like, I was praying at 2 a.m. for hours and I was drooling and snot and crying and screaming and God gave me the upload? Dude, just a couple of men bragging about getting on their knees and talking to an imaginary Jewish deity. No big deal. Okay, I can't handle any more, Jones. I do want to hear a little bit of this report, though, and then we'll move on to the clips from Amalek of the Jake Shields and this doctor, this flat earth doctor. Let's go.
Or weapons against Iran.
He has some good Mizrachi clips too. See through it all to it. Or funny.
Oh,
the Pentagon just cranked Israel's counterintelligence threat level all the way up to critical, the highest designation, right there with our worst adversaries. U.S. officials are now using burner phones and staying tight-lipped in hotel rooms when they visit Israel because the Israelis are aggressively spying on top Trump administration people, digging for inside dope on decisions about Iran and Lebanon. This isn't some rogue operation. It's all coordinated. Hyper-aggressive espionage from our so-called closest ally. Jonathan Pollard-style damage from the past should have been a warning, but here we are again. Americans are rightly asking how an ally that spies on us at this level gets treated like family.
With me, I don't care if you start throwing nukes immediately, responsibly, but immediately. And the case that I've been pushing is the use of an electromagnetic pulse weapon or weapons against Iran. Why are we waiting to get hit?
That's Jonathan Pollard, the most famous Israeli spy in modern history, who sold out our secrets, got our agents killed, you name it. He sold to the Russians, the Chinese, the Israelis, everybody. And remember, Trump pardoned him back at the end of his first administration. So now Israel's funding will be within the Pentagon in joint weapons development, but they're going to be allowed into everything and be able to claim co-ownership of the U.S. military-industrial complex that Eisenhower told us to beware, the technological elite that control the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, I'd rather give them the $3 billion a year than have this. They're trying to act like, oh, we're not going to be, no more funding aid to Israel, but then we're getting this instead. It's even worse. Way worse. Way more of a threat. Way better for them long term.
To me, this has been the standard already. Everyone's freaking out about this, and
it's even worse though now.
Well, I just think that this has already been how our military has been since the Iraq War, basically, and it's just been slowly getting to this point where it's just like out in the open now, and people are now freaking out. Like, it's over. This is already cooked. It's already done. Like, they're already fully integrated into our systems. There's not a single piece of intelligence or equipment or technology that we have that isn't just like 1 to 2 to 3 degrees of separation away from some Israeli spy or some version that they have already. Like, they have all of our technology. It's done. And as far as like military operations go, like an integration there, they're doing military operations in Israel in English with Americans calling in and using our intelligence, our satellites and things like that with Israeli pilots as they're shooting down thing and doing their thing, right? So it's fully integrated already. It's been done. It's been like that since probably October 7th was really this is going full bar. Since then.
All right, a little more of this. We won't do
that.
The
then you've got
minutes.
38 states that have passed laws or executive orders that if you criticize Israel anyway, or ever boycott Israel, or criticize Zionism, or what happened in Gaza, these are laws that you cannot have any government contracts or government jobs. Totally illegal, unconstitutional, tyranny. And that's because Israel admits they're moving their weapons industries here to the United States. And so now if you criticize anything Israel's doing...
The opposite.
Here's the lie that's going on too. Look. Trump has turned against Netanyahu.
Oh my God.
So Netanyahu is attempting to co-opt the legislative branch with Section 224. Come on. We're not going to do this again, are we? Made up fantasies about Trump turning against Netanyahu. Alex Jones claimed that before Trump did everything for Israel with Iran and started the war. You told us this. And then he got in a big war with Iran. So why would we believe you now? Give me a break.
You're shut down by the state governments, violating our First Amendment. You had that with the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. You got to read that for yourself. Total lifetime fusion integration of everything, from academia to DARPA to MIT to secret weapons development to live intelligence, telemetry, weapons guidance, weapons systems, everything. Remember, the other agencies don't even let each other know what they're doing. The other armed services branches are in competition to let them have their secrets. That's good to keep things compartmentalized. Congress doesn't even know 10% of what the Pentagon's up to. This is Israel's coup against America.
The real gut punch is what's happening in Congress at the exact same time. On the heels of the revelation of Section 224 slowly advancing, Senator Tom Cotton slipped Section 622 into the FY27 Intelligence Authorization Act. This thing locks America into permanent unbreakable intelligence entanglement with Israel. It mandates expanded sharing, ties it to Israel's qualitative military edge, restricts the president or future Congress from scaling it back without jumping through huge legal hoops and notifying bought and paid for committees, and even pushes sharing with Abraham Accords countries. There will be no unwinding this. We are looking at Intel Fusion as a pillar of policy, handing over leverage that could bite us hard if relations sour. We'll find ourselves either towing the line for Israel or facing serious consequences.
Dude, they'll be able to pull the plug on us in a
flags
heartbeat
Israel as a
if
top
they
spy
want to.
threat, and lawmakers are wiring them deeper into our system. This isn't partnership. It's a one-way street that smells like foreign influence money run amok. America first means putting our sovereignty and secrets ahead of any foreign lobby. It's not optional, and it's a major insult on this 250th anniversary of our nation. John Bound reporting for the Alex Jones Network at Alex.
It's like we're the most technological, advanced, biggest empire, and now we're completely partnering with Israel, this little tiny nation of chosen people. Who benefits more in that situation?
JonesLive.com.
What about a lopsided deal? All right. Here's the first Mizrachi clip. I thought this was a conspiracy theory.
Okay, then.
New banger from See Through It All. Let's see.
Many of the Jews, maybe they're not educated in Torah, and they don't know what they left, but they do know one thing, that nobody gave humanity more than the Jewish nation. No one contributed to the world more than the Jews. The Jews are number one in science, they're number one in medicine, they're number one in law, they're number one in finance, they're number one in everything. Always it's been like that. They run the world, everything is around us, everyone speaks about this tiny piece of Israel, which is the size of Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, that's Israel. Think about it. All over the world, non-stop.
Number one in usury, number one in religion.
Everything is around the Jews. Clever person should have asked himself, we are not regular people. We're not just another nation from 7.5 billion people. The 13.2 million people, everybody understands they are the most important. Everyone. Even Muhammad, the Arab, he called us the nation of the book. Christians, their entire religion comes from our Torah. They just made part 2, which is full of baloney. But
in the same way that Mormons did, right?
Yeah. Part 3.
Come from what they call the Old Testament. Without Judaism, there would not be any Christianity. 2 billion Christians celebrate whatever.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thanks, Adam.
Oh boy, thank you, Meredith. This is a banger, another Mizrachi banger, dunking on the Goyim. These stupid Goyim.
2 billion Christians celebrate whatever they celebrate. Without Jews, they will never have a beginning, Bichlal. Their Messiah, or what they call the Son of God, was a Jew. 2 billion Christians bow down to one Jew every year. Think about it.
Every day of
the
every
Arabs,
year.
Same thing. Without the Torah, Arabs would know who Ibrahim is, who is Yaqub. They would know who is Ishmael. They would know about the tradition, they would know about the concept called prophet. They would know about the holy book. They would not know anything without us.
It's gotta hurt knowing all this is true and that he's spitting facts right here. It's gotta, I'm sure a lot of cope is required. Aren't you tired of getting dunked on by Rabbi Mizrachi, by the way? Doesn't that hurt enough to, why do you put yourselves through it?
Every civilization in the world is influenced by us, whether they like it or not. Without us, the world would still remain a zoo. The day that God gave us the book, we are different than 80,000 fake religions and cults who came later on.
You would never have any morals. You'd be animals in a zoo without the Jewish Bible. Sounds like the Ortho Bros' main argument, right?
It's like, yeah, they say we get all of our arguments from rabbis, and I've heard this argument. I mean, I've heard it. I always call it like the Jay Dyer, the Ortho Bro thing, but I've had Jews say it to me so many times at this point, like in my replies and things, because they know that I'm like a, critical of their part of the religion too. They constantly do the same thing to me. oh, what do you base your objective morality on then without the Bible? Because I'm always saying that the Bible is also fake. The whole thing. It's crazy.
Ms. Rachi on Christian. Just getting that saved.
I might just I think I'm gonna repost that clip with a nice little like Judaism or Christianity is to Judaism what Mormonism is to Christianity, because that's just totally true. They really did just do their own new version, and all these Christians are freaking out about it, and that's what they are.
Let's see this other clip from See Through It All. It's almost time, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I like this city. Nations rise, nations fall, empires are crumbled to the dust. Jesus is coming back. Okay, some Christian fantasy.
Jesus.
Let's see what the Christians are looking forward to.
Nations rise, nations fall, empires are built and crumble to dust.
Is that just not predictive programming for your Roman Empire to crumble, for the West to crumble? That's what they're getting all these Christians excited about. Oh, your empire, time for your empire to fall, goy. And then Jesus will come.
Nations rise, nations fall, empires are built and crumble to dust. But there is one kingdom that will never end. Jesus is coming back, and when he does, he will make all things new. Every broken thing, every fallen nation, every shattered dream made new. America may fade from prominence, but you do not have to fade.
Wow.
Draw close to God. Live with urgency.
This says, where is America in Bible prophecy? Dude, they're conditioning the Goyim for America, Edom, Rome to fall, and then their apocalypse to happen. And Jesus is going to come down with the sword and the horse, slaying demons. Dude, this is such a national security threat to America.
And lift your eyes, because your redemption is drawing near. Nations rise.
That's crazy. I think there's another one that See Through It All posted of that on that topic. Oh man, we got a lot of clips of that. Oh, this is it. Listen to this guy.
Whatever you're looking at. We know what happens at the end of this age. The whole world, all the armies of the world come against Israel, come against Jerusalem, okay? When you see the character of a nation, you're seeing the underlying beliefs of that nation. Russia, China, Iran, whoever you're looking at, there is a character of that nation. And when you see America, we were the most Christian nation in the history of the world. We're still very Christian in many ways. Not as much as we used to be, but because of the Judeo-Christian background of America, America has protected Israel because we're a nation founded upon a Judeo-Christian belief system and a strong connection to the Bible. But when the rapture happens, Israel loses their best friend and defender, and everything changes. Everything is going to change in an instant of time when the restrainer, the church, is taken out, the Holy Spirit's work in the church is taken out, abortion, transgenderism, anti-Semitism has no restraint at that point. Okay, all the Christians are gone. There's 144,000 Jews and the two witnesses there, of course, and they're witnessing, but the church in the world is gone. This is how I believe America ends. America is not in Bible prophecy, and this is what this program here today is about, how America ends. And we just need to understand, as a proud American, I am a proud American. As a proud American, I'm more proud of the kingdom of God. And my focus is not on America lasting forever, because it won't. My focus is on serving God and his kingdom, understanding that in an instant of time, I'm going to be taken out. All of us believers are going to be taken out, and America is going to fall. When I see anti-Semitism off the charts, when I see AI, when I see the things that are happening in the world today, I just know that Jesus is coming very soon. And I'm saying to all of us, America, our lives as they are today is very temporary, but we have an eternal home in heaven, and that's where we're going.
Crazy, crazy death cult. This guy's got 250,000 followers on YouTube, by the way.
The other thing too is like he's doing this thing where it's like Christian or America is a Christian nation.
We know what happened.
If you could like go back in time and to when the Christian or when America was founded, that it was the opposite. It was seen as this like departure from Christianity and a quote unquote Christian nation, and the separation of church and state was actually like a new and big deal. That was seen as this sort of like advancement or new or part of a way towards progress, towards the values of those times. Like the idea that like the founding of this country was Christianity and Christianity itself was like the biggest part is not true. It was done in opposition to that idea. It's like not until like the 1940s and 50s and 60s and like the revivals in the late 1800s that we get these types of periods in America where we have like we're incredibly Christian. But outside of that, like the founding was never like this, and basically every other period in time was not like this. For 90% of our time, it was not like this.
Check out this one I just found. This guy, William Henry, dedicated to recovering humanity's forgotten wisdom, says he addresses his 16-year relationship with ancient aliens in a deliberate choice that defines his work. Despite being part of a show exploring extraterrestrial contact across civilizations, the series has never dedicated an episode to Jesus or early Christianity. The very subject at the center of his research, this absence is not accidental. Focus on the Essene community, ascension codes. Hold on. I want to see what he says here.
This not out of total self-interest. I do have a reputation as a Jesus freak. I always have. I've been writing about Jesus and the early Christians, the Essene community, but at the same time, I do have that broader view. I mean, I've been on Ancient Aliens for 16 years, and we've never done an episode about Jesus. And I just decided long ago, this is who I am.
Hold on. Why should they, Ancient Aliens, do an episode on Jesus? Do you think Jesus is an alien? You think the Essenes were mystical Jews that had alien ascension, fallen angel experiences?
What I am, and I'm doing this not out of total self-interest. I'm doing this for me, and I'm sharing it with you. I do have a reputation as a Jesus freak. I always have.
Here's another one from Chrome Barracuda. That Peter Thiel sees us as Satan is total degrowth victory. Look, is this from Boys? The Boys?
This thing
No,
is
that's
Prometheus.
Prometheus,
This
I
culture
believe,
is
is
degenerating, and our power is degenerating. The world that we grew up in doesn't work anymore, and it's kind of a joke to be an American nationalist. What are you a nationalist about? Walmart or something? Like, what are we going to do about it? We are not going to quadruple down on what brought us here, because what brought us here brought us to here. You're going to press play on the recorder. You're going to end up here. Everything that happened led to here. Have this potential within disintegration.
That's what I always say about Christianity. Christianity, 1700 years of Christianity led us to here, where we're at.
Disintegration is...
As in, the same people that say that run around kvetching that Jews run the world and, you know, they've hijacked Christianity and they're about to usher in the Antichrist. That's led us to there.
Not just that, but if you could, I say this too, if you could custom make the E-Crusader perfect theology, if each individual one, you could make their own perfect version of Christianity, and we could snap our fingers and make every single person on the planet that version of Christianity, we would still backslide into the point we're in now. The most base E-Crusader version of Christianity would eventually mellow out to where we're at today eventually. Okay, there's no way of getting around this. It will always return to this. It will always become this, because that's what the purpose of it was, and that's what the scriptures say.
Is liberation. We need to be thinking about birthing the Antichrist. That is our job. We need to be thinking about this terrifying entity that is going to confront America. It's going to confront people like Peter Thiel, who want infinite acceleration. And the Antichrist is going to be our savior. And we need to start thinking about him and his coming and working every day to bring him into the material world. The opposite of Jesus.
This is Spencer's satanic go-off
terrifying as Jesus, but he's terrifying to the people who love Jesus.
The dark horse.
The
dark horse gonna be Christian? Must be. All right, now let's do this. Jake had this guy on, Dr. Something. Got a YouTuber.
Dr. Retard.
Dr. Retard. Here they are. I've never heard of him before. Talking about Jesus being 6 foot tall with light-colored hair and a strong guy. So homoerotic fantasies about white Aryan Jesus. Let's hear.
Jesus was probably, based off the descriptions of the Essenes back then, Jesus was probably over 6 feet tall, had light hair.
Where are you getting descriptions that Essenes had light hair?
You know, fair hair and light-colored eyes. I would bet $1 million on it. Being a carpenter too, you know, he probably he was a pretty strong guy. It's really not fair or educated at all to say Jesus was Jewish by today's standards. So,
and that's manipulated by, you know, the politicians, the Zionists, and also people on the opposite end like Adam Green who attack it. So I think it's clear, important.
Yeah, dude, nobody thinks Jesus is Jewish, but at people like Adam Green. Dude, Jake, you've never opened a Bible before. You just figured out about Jews like 2-3 years ago. Everybody in the world besides these kooks, your kook friends on the internet, know without any question that Jesus is Jewish. The Bible calls him Jewish. If he's not Jewish, he's not the Messiah. He came and was rejected by his own. Same Greek word for who killed Jesus and Jesus being Jewish.
The whole point is that his own killed him. The other thing too is I want to say like where he's getting this from. I don't know if you know this, but so basically like this idea that the Essenes were Aryans is from like 18th century like, you know, rewrites that became like positive Christianity and the Aryan Jesus movement and all these things. There were British and German thinkers who were talking and thinking like this, like occult writers and in magazines and things like that. It was part of this like, you know, what they were trying to do, right, is they were trying to link this like Indo-Aryan history that is like an authentic thing. Like we do understand that there's like a civilizational connection there, and they were trying to like go backwards and claim everything that they possibly could. So in those writings, in those that's where it comes. So from like the 1800s and 1900s, these writers who are trying to like write in, they're basically like an idealized form of like a European or white man into the Essenes. That's where it comes from, not Josephus, you fucking retard. So he's like misquoting that.
ChatGPT says no known ancient source describes Essenes as having light skin or light colored eyes. I didn't think so. I've seen what they all say about the Essenes.
He doesn't even describe what they look like. He describes what they wore.
Apocalyptic Messianic Jews, like obsessed with the Hebrew Torah.
They were vegetarian hippie Jews, dude. Like fuck off. They were like literally like anti-capitalist. Actually, is like I would actually describe them as an ancient version of anti-capitalism, like straight up. Because if you read Josephus's descriptions of them, that's how they are described.
You're listening again.
And light-colored eyes. I would bet $1 million on it. Being
$1 million.
A carpenter too, you know, he probably
It calls him a carpenter one time, and it's a word for like craftsman.
He was a pretty strong guy. It's really not fair or educated
Anybody
at
that's
all
a carpenter is definitely like strong and like Chad White Jesus, dude. $1 million.
Say Jesus was Jewish by today's standards. So,
and that's manipulated by, you know, the politicians, the Zionists, and
yeah, dude. Nobody thought Jesus was Jewish until Zionist and American politicians said so, and people like Adam Green. Jake, every church father knows Jesus is Jewish. The Bible explicitly calls him Jewish many times. It's the Jewish Messiah. The only people waiting for a Messiah were Jews.
This isn't an Adam Green idea.
Yeah, no, they act like it's an Adam Green thing to say Jesus is Jewish. No, dude, it's every church in the world, every seminary, every pastor, besides these like Pastor Andersons or these like Joel Webbin. Come on. Stop the gaslighting.
also people on the opposite end like Adam Green who attack it. So I think it's clear, it's important to say he's not Jewish.
Jesus.
It's important to say he's not Jewish, he
Probably.
said. So see, it's like a completely cynical political lie that he's doing.
Yeah, it's important to lie, and that the fact you're worshiping the Jewish God and the Jewish Messiah and affirming the Jewish covenants.
Do you have the one of the clips that I have him? I mean, it's like 6 minutes long, and so it's so good though. Is this
Probably
it?
this
Yeah,
one.
dude.
I haven't watched
yeah.
any of these yet. I've been waiting all weekend to watch
this is
these. I haven't
so.
watched
This
one
is
second
crazy.
of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, let's do it then.
So
this
the
is
Native
crazy.
American thing.
Yeah, Jake's like, Adam's part of the psyop to say Jesus is Jewish. Yeah, like the government, the Zionists, and the Satanists, they like say Jesus is Jewish like Adam Green does. Like, he's totally not, though.
He was just circumcised and read Hebrew Torah in the synagogues to Jews and said salvation is of the Jews. Yeah, totally not Jewish, though.
That's just like a cool. Well, you know, we touched on it last time, but at the end of the day, Europeans are going to have to wake up to the fact that they are the lost tribes of Israel. So the Native American thing, that's just like a cool little side story.
Sorry.
Stop. You want to be
Thought it was
Jews?
muted.
No, we're not.
Sorry for this word.
We was Israel. No, you can curse.
I
There's
was
no
just,
slurs. Yeah.
Dude, this is like our problem. Like our people, like what's going on and what's happening to us as a people globally is that we're in an identity crisis, guys. We don't know what to do with ourselves. We don't know who we are, and we don't know how to define ourselves in the modern world. That is our problem. That is the core issue that we're having. So when somebody comes along and says, well, the Europeans are going to have to wake up to the fact that they're actually the Israelites, that person is the enemy of white people. We need to view them harsher than we do communists. You guys understand this? Harsher than we do Antifa. Harsher than we view the capitalists that enslave us or any of the Zionists. These people that are trying to confuse our identity as us, saying, hey, we're one of you, and actually let's reveal to you what your identity is, and it's actually that you're Israelites. These people are a scourge. We need to remove the tolerance for them completely. In the same way that somebody hears that, like that someone's a flat earther or something like that, when somebody says that like we are the lost Israelites, that needs to be the same reaction. The way everybody in this scene treats flat earthers, you laugh at them, you mock them, you ridicule them. As soon as somebody says that Jesus wasn't Jewish and that the Europeans are actually the Israelites, it needs to be met with an even harsher or equal amount of like mockery or disdain.
Yeah, William says he's using manipulative language, saying not Jewish by today's standards. Yeah, why would we judge him by today's standards? That's anachronistic. We're not saying he's a modern day rabbinical Jew. That's not what we're saying. That would make no sense. It's not the argument. Stop trying to like create all these distinctions between like good Jews and bad Jews, or this Messianic Jew or not a Messianic Jew. It's all Jewish. I didn't realize he was Christian identity too. Jake, do you agree with that? You think that you're the Israelites of the Bible?
Oh, the next clip
you're
you're gonna
fall for
love,
that one
man.
too.
You just wait. He says that. He says Jake might be one of the lost Israelites in another clip. You're gonna love it.
Tribes of Israel. So the Native American thing, that's just like a cool little side story. What's really important is, how did Europe end up so Christian? How did America end up so Christian? The Europeans who received Christianity.
Because the Jews took it to Rome and planted a cult in Rome that took over. And then the Roman Empire became the Holy Roman Empire and spread it throughout Europe by force. That's how, because we're secretly the lost tribes of Israel? That's why it spread? So stupid.
Early on, were probably the lost tribes who split off from Israel and the Judahites way back then. So, last episode, we joked about, the Shields family. You're probably descended from some of these ancient lost Israelites who made them.
And my name's Jacob.
There you go.
Yeah, Yaakov's shield. The shield of Jacob. The shield of Yaakov.
Yeah, that is this clip. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not looking good.
Look at his dumbass face.
Not looking good. I love how Dan said there's a lot of Jewish bullshit in the Old Testament, and everybody's laughing at him like, oh, he just early life check on the Bible. Yeah, it's like, Jake thinks he's going to win by trying to find every kook conspiratard on the internet to say Jesus isn't Jewish, because that's what he wants to believe. Hey, Jake, why don't you go talk to actual pastors or actual Christians?
King James Bible. So that's like the best English Bible. If you want to learn Hebrew and Greek, whatever, cool, go learn it. But as far as English, we got to use the King James Bible. It's the only.
Why is that one better?
So it's better I think it's objectively better. It's the best English translation of the Bible. It's a direct translation from Hebrew into English, and then the Greek or maybe some Aramaic into English. There's no game of telephone. So most of the other English Bibles are
it's more Jewish
telephone.
version. It's right to the source.
King James is as direct as you can get, and it did not. This is sometimes people don't like this, but I think it's a strength. It did not use the Septuagint as its reference. So many early Christians or not early Christians.
So he likes the Masoretic Hebrew Jewish version, the ones that the Jews use, instead of the Greek, Latin,
early
English
versions of the Bible. They would stick to the Greek, and they would try to ignore the Hebrew because they were a little bit allergic to the Hebrew. They didn't want to be too close to the Jews. So they went more with what the Greek interpretation. But the King James Bible, it is a superior translation. It captures the essence of the Bible, but above all, it is the only Bible made from the point of view that the Northern European people are the real Israelites. King James himself, much like some other people in history, is so lied about and maligned by people today. They say, oh, he was gay.
They didn't have Christian identity that long ago, did they? This isn't true.
No, this
isn't British Israelism just like 200 years ago?
No, this is anachronistic. This is what the people that were writing British Israelism, they're writing. This is their lore. They're writing all what he's saying. This is what their internal logic was. That King James was divinely inspired, and that he believed in all this, and yada yada yada, all this other stuff. There's like little tiny like kernels of truth that they use, and then they blow it up into this lore in the same way you Mormons do, or or Christians use, all these stuff. That's what he's doing here. This is like their lore basically, and he's presenting it as fact. It's not.
He had one ball. He was secretly Jewish. Where else do we hear this about certain people who stand up to the system? Oh, he killed his mom. He was evil. He was gay. Whatever. Well, King James believed he, as the king of Ireland, England, and Scotland, was the true king of Israel because he believed the Israelites directly emigrated to Northern Europe, and voila, that's where he came from. There was no mistake. He was not confused about that. Today we're confused. British Israelism was a huge movement until Lawrence with this army of Arabs. You know where the Palestine flag comes from? The flag of Palestine is the flag of this movement that Lawrence and the Arab Spring, the Arab Revolt had with them, and they brought that flag into Palestine. So this it was a.
Okay, I just asked AI, did King James believe Europeans were Israelites? It says no. There's no evidence King James I of England, the sponsor of the King James Bible, believed all Europeans were Israelites.
It was like a brotherhood, or almost like a coalition, to go kick out the Ottomans. The Ottomans were bad. They were Muslims treating the native Muslims bad. So everyone thought, all right, let's get rid of the bad Muslims. We're going to have good Muslims, Jews, Christians. Everyone's going to be happy. So they're fighting to kick out the Ottomans, and almost on the eve of this very important battle to retake Jerusalem and take it from the Ottomans and give it to the Arabs, but also the British, are going to have control over Jerusalem because of this. Lawrence's General Allenby, was summoned to a secret meeting. Okay, this is documented in multiple books. People who were there was summoned to a secret meeting. Some of the people in the room were Freemasons. Some of the people were members of other ancient orders. And General Allenby, who was like Lawrence of Arabia's boss, was told, "Hey, General Allenby, something very important is going on. And tomorrow or this week, when you go to take Jerusalem, you can't fuck up. Okay, we need you to get this right because this is biblical prophecy being acted out." And basically, these people who had been preserving this information, this intelligence operation, they told General Allenby, "The British are the real Israelites, and us moving into Jerusalem is the regathering of all the lost tribes. We're bringing all the forces of good back to Jerusalem, and you're the man that's going to help do it. You and Lawrence, and we're going to make you some of the greatest heroes the world has ever known." Kind of like the Cyrus syndrome, almost a little bit, and saying, "You are the British Israelites, and you are here to help the Judahites, the Jewish people, reconquer their land. To help these poor people reconquer their country." So they fuel up. They get this morale, this like vigor, this excitement. Like, oh my God, we're the real Israelites. Like, man, this is all divine. This is why it's so successful. It's start going to everyone's heads. General Allenby says, "Oh my God, all right, well, full steam ahead. Let's go get Jerusalem." From that moment on, and by the way, they take Jerusalem. It's over pretty quick. The British then take over. They told the Arabs.
So it's some bullshit they made up using religion to justify taking some land.
You guys are going to place yourself.
Like
the British control. The French bring in.
Hold on, let him finish out here. He'll finish it.
He's doing. It becomes a proxy state for the British, and then World War II. Germany's making it a move on the Holy Land as well. But basically, after the prize had been achieved, we never hear a single word about British Israelism in the mainstream. It gets flushed right down the toilet. It served.
It never was mainstream. It was like you say, oh, Christian Zionism never is, a brand new heresy. It never existed, right? Well, neither did British Israelism. So the true Israelites, Europeans, forgot who we were for 2,000 years. Does that make any sense? I'm so sick of these Christian identity, flat earth, Aryan Jesus retards, dude.
Purpose for the time, and therefore they promoted it. And then once they got their goal, once Jerusalem is captured, well, we're all still Israelites, right? You just convinced the British military that they're part of Israel. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah.
No, that's the
tribe of Judah only. So that's why Jew becomes a distinction from Israelite, and only the Jews get Jerusalem. So British Israelism, as much as I believe in that, I believe it's fact, it was discarded after the British.
It was used to manipulate and thrown away.
I just want to say,
interesting.
And something similar might be happening with Trump and America right now.
So how crazy is this? So he understands how the prophecy operated politically, right? He fully gets it. It convinced he's wrong about so many of the facts here. I don't want to like sit here and split hairs over it, but I mean, basically the entire retelling he just gave is just completely historically inaccurate. He's getting it from some like Robert Zephyr style books, essentially, is what I would say. And what the true kernel, what he's saying is that British Israelism wasn't this idea that like the Anglo-Saxons are the true Jews or something like that. The Jews of today or of their world, it became that later for sure, but the original version, the version that Lawrence of Arabia and these people would have been familiar with and that they would have been working with, it believed that the Jews were of Judah and that British were the Ephraim or the Ephraim, and the Americans were the Manesha or whatever it's called. I don't know how to pronounce any of these words, but they basically believed that they were other tribes. Basically, is essentially what it was. That Europeans were members of the lost tribe, but they still affirmed that the Jewish tribe exists, right? So what he was doing was not to like, oh, we're going to bring the Anglo-Saxons back to Jerusalem when they did their conquest of the Ottoman Empire. That's not what he was doing. It was a physical restoration of the nation of Judah, the Jews, the ones that everyone acknowledges are Jews. It was them coming back to Jerusalem. So it was the British state using British Israelism, right, that was conducted or concocted by rabbis in conjunction with rabbis to get them to convince them to bring ethnic Jews back to the Holy Land or back to that land, back to Jerusalem. That part is true, but it wasn't because they thought that they weren't like, oh, we're going to bring the Anglo-Saxons back to Jerusalem. That's not what was going on there. He doesn't even understand his own thing, but that's typical of these guys picking up on hodgepodge pieces.
All right, here's a longer version of the white Chad Jesus.
Oh yeah, this is so funny.
So before then, we touched on last time was there were so many fair-haired people, light hair, light eyes. You know, if we had to put our finger on it, Jesus probably looked like a Northern European.
Oh my God! Come on, dude. People in that area are not blonde hair and blue eye. That is a Northern European trait. You're trying to tell me there was Aryan-looking people all around the Middle East and nobody mentioned it anywhere? Come on. What is the best they have? A mention of a ruddy happening? Dude.
Yeah, to what degree there might have been like invasion?
Just the ancient times, Middle East, just a bunch of white, total Viking, Scandinavian-looking people right there in the desert in the Middle East. Like, come on, dude.
They would have had like similar genetics as... Look, they would have had the genetics of the people that are like, okay, so there's Greece, there's Italy, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the Middle East to the east of that. There's Anatolia, right? In between them. The genetic markers and the genetics are essentially just based on like migratory patterns and like their location. So that's what they would have been related to. Yeah. The idea that they would have been related to Scandinavian, Northern European looking people is ridiculous. To what degree there was like genetic admixture of an invading sea people or anything like that, okay, that later becomes like Jewish or anything like that, because that is kind of what they're trying to speak to in a way. Like, to what degree that's true, that would have been like a drop in the genetic bucket of that region, like opposed to like its massive, overwhelming genetic stock from the Eastern Mediterranean.
You look today at the gradient of the map of Europe and Asia and Africa of blonde hair and blue eye. It's mostly in the Northwest European. The further away from that you go, the more brown eyes, dark skin that you see. But that was totally different 2,000 years ago and nobody could travel around? No. Stop being so stupid.
And they certainly got browner with the Arab colonization and conquest of the Middle East. As the Arabs leave Saudi or leave the Arab Peninsula and they spread their genetics throughout Egypt and Syria and Lebanon and those places, basically there are like remnants of ethnic groups that do have lighter skin tone. I'm not even denying that exists, but that is not proof that Jesus himself would have looked like that. There's no proof
are the
of that
Jews
whatsoever.
all Aryan too? Because Jesus came to his own, but they rejected him.
Dude, exactly. I mean,
so we're all the Pharisees also Northern European Aryan phenotypes?
The whole idea of it is just stupid.
Yeah, there's no eyewitness description of Jesus anywhere in the Bible, too. If he was standing out like, it's like the meme, there I was, the only white guy in Judea.
Why can we say that? Because that's what all the Greek and Roman busts in Africa look like. That's what the Greeks and the Romans looked like when they were there. Way, way before Islam browned the whole area out. North Africa was largely white. The Eastern Levant, the coasts of Israel were largely white. And this brings us to red hair,
white like as in not black, because they weren't Northwest European white. They weren't blonde hair, blue eyes white. Not in any great numbers where we can go, oh, well, Jesus probably was. Also, there's no evidence in the Bible or anywhere that Jesus looked like that. And the letter to Lentulus is a known forgery. So this is just pure bullshit pulling out of their ass.
Red hair, we talked about with Columbus last time a little bit. Red hair has always been a marker or an indicator of Jewishness. The two people who have the most red hair
Gingers are Jewish.
Today are the Celts, so some of the Northern Europeans, and the Jewish people, both Sephardic and Ashkenazi, have lots and lots of red hair. You know who doesn't have any red hair? Pretty much Italians. So Columbus having red hair, who knows? Muhammad
I think you made a very convincing argument. If you want to look in the last one, some people still like to argue it, but it was pretty overwhelming evidence.
Well, yeah, man. So those are the two largest ethnic groups, divisions of Judaism, subdivisions. Then there's another one that's Mizrahi. This is less than 1% of Judaism in the world. They have no influence.
Hold on, I missed a few of these super chats. Jake Shields and Blazarian is mind-numbingly retarded, geared to literal cattle. I haven't seen the stream in a few days, but did you see Mike Enoch street preaching low IQ anti-Semitism? No, he did street preaching? No, I didn't see that.
No, that's an old clip.
Oh, old clip. Okay. Game Junkie says this insanity. So if Jesus wasn't Jewish, do these idiots think that will magically change the scripture, that he will judge Christians on how they treated Jews? This guy is retarded. Jesus' skin was pure white as THC diamonds. Yeah, we're going out for sure today with high in Hyperborea.
No influence in America whatsoever, pretty much. No. Mizrahi, it pretty much just means Eastern. It's not a unified collection. It's kind of what they want you to think it means is it's all the Jews who stayed in the Middle East the whole time, throughout everything. Oh, they've always been there. Well, today, what we're finding out is most Mizrahi Jews are really Sephardic Jews who are trying to paint themselves
trying to act like they came from there
as more Middle Eastern because they
wrong. We're not finding that out. Wrong. You're an idiot. Wrong. These guys are noobs on Jews. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. That's not true. We're not.
He said Mizrahi are pretending to be Sephardic, but they're only 1% of Jews. Well, then who even gives a fuck?
They're not, dude. He's so stupid. He's just wrong about everything he just said. And the idea that okay, red hair is not common in Jews, okay? It's like less than 5% of them have red hair. Some Ashkenazi Jews do, and that's likely because of the genetic bottlenecking. But the idea that Sephardics or Mizrahi Jews are significantly, that their red hair is like a trait that's associated with them, that's also retarded. He's just pulling that from his ass. Like Ireland and Scotland and places like that have way higher rates of red hair than any of those groups I just named. Any of them.
Yeah, same thing. You look at the gradient of where on the map you see the highest density of red hair. It's obviously in Ireland. And also, the variant of the mutation of getting red hair can pop up in pockets of other places as well.
Yes.
And if Ashkenazi Jews have red hair, it could be from later European admixture, because your red hair spread around some of Europe.
Most Mizrahi Jews are really Sephardic Jews who are trying to paint themselves
trying to act like they came from there
as more Middle
Eastern. Just real quick, I'm sorry. He said that Mizrahi Jews are only like 1% of the world, because he's basically saying like Sephardics are pretending to be Mizrahi, right? Which is just totally not true. Or Mizrahi rather. I keep saying Mizrahi. Mizrahi Jews make up 30 to 40% of the world. Ashkenazi make up 45 to 55% of the world, and Sephardic make up 10 to 20%. The estimates, because so many of them are mixed between like 1 or 2 or even 3 of those groups, is like a little hard to do in general, but that's their population breakdown. The idea that only 1% of them are quote unquote true Mizrahi is so incredibly stupid. You got to be a noob. You don't understand like Judaism or Jews 101. Like go back to Jew class or something. Go to Jew university, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, Mizrahi Jews are like basically Arab Jews. Sephardic are like Southern Europe Jews, and Ashkenazi are Jews mixed with some Northern Europe.
And they act like, and also this whole thing does like make me believe that they do think that Israel's like a 95% Ashkenazi ethno state of some kind. That is not true. Their demographic situation is similar to ours if you consider the Mizrahi brown, basically.
This is Middle Eastern.
Those are mostly Sephardic Jews, the
I'm
ones that
just
stayed around.
putting
Like
in those
was it the
those
Sassoon
terms.
family, or whatever, with the opium trade and all that?
Yeah. Now, so those are the three division, major groups of Jews on the planet today, and Jesus was none of them. He was not even remotely close to any of them, aside from maybe the red hair genes. Some of his family might have had red hair. Some of his followers, Judas is said to have had red hair. Mary Magdalene said to have.
Come on, that's not in the Bible, dude. Judas had red hair, according to what? Is there any source that says Judas had red hair? No. Nope.
So, Jesus had nothing to do with the Jews of today.
Medieval European art and folklore sometimes depicted Judas as red hair as a symbolic marker of treachery. There's not even early Christian sources that say he have red hair.
There's not even like a Gnostic source that I can find of some, or yeah. And the other thing too is like this is like fully not understanding like what Jews are and how they operated. After the Second Temple was destroyed, when the Second Temple was destroyed at that time, only like 30 to 40% of Jews in the world at the time lived in Israel, in that area basically. And the rest of them lived in diaspora throughout the Roman Empire, concentrated in Alexandria, in Anatolia, in Greece, in Rome, in North Africa, Carthage, and concentrated in the Persian Empire, okay? When the temple is destroyed, those diaspora Jews, that 30% basically get scattered throughout, but it's those diaspora Jews that were living outside of the temple destruction, outside of Israel, they're the ones who are carrying on this legacy linked to those traditions, those Jews that get expelled from Judea. So the categories of Ashkenazi, Sephardic, and Mizrahi themselves are the post-temple destruction ethnic lines that Jews have broken down into. They are of themselves like ethnic groups that rely on being like post-temple, if that makes sense. Like that's what they fundamentally are. Like that's their defining feature basically. So this idea that Jesus wouldn't be one of those three, that's anachronistic. None of those three groups existed during Jesus's time. At the time, they were all the one root group, the one root ethnic group, which was Jews or Judeans. Judeans, yeah. Certainly not Europeans.
Synagogue of Satan, he called them. So yeah, obviously.
Yep. Biologically, he's very different too.
Did you hear that? He called them the synagogue of Satan, so they killed him. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Jesus had nothing to do with the Jews of today. Theologically, his beliefs were clearly opposed.
Synagogue of Satan, he called them. So yeah, obviously.
Well, don't they also say the Jews of the Bible have nothing to do with the Jews of today?
Yeah, and then they do this kind of stuff. Well, you got to get this full clip and react to it and get a good little like. How funny is this? He doesn't know shit.
Synagogue of Satan, he called them. So yeah, obviously.
Yep. Biologically, he's very different too because he had not mixed with Slavs like Ashkenazi had, and he had never mixed with Muslims or Arabs because like the Sephardic did. I want to paint a picture for people of what Jesus really.
So he was pure Jewish. He was more Jewish. That's what you're saying? He didn't mix with Europeans or Slavs. So Jesus was more swarthy? That's what you're getting at?
He called him the synagogue of Satan till they killed him. Ugh.
Dude, the synagogue of Satan line is from Revelation after Jesus supposedly died, according to some schizophrenic Jew allegedly named John.
Looked like Jesus was probably, based off the descriptions of the Essenes back then, Jesus was probably over 6 feet tall, had light hair, fair hair, and light colored eyes. I would bet $1 million on it, okay? That's the description of most of the Israelites up until then. That's what most of the people around the Eastern Mediterranean looked like till Islam spread around. But what's important is some of the Jews back then were writing this themselves, that the Essenes were often 6 inches, maybe even a whole foot taller than the other Jews around them because of their lifestyle, because of their, rigor.
Who wrote that? Josephus? Philo? Who wrote that? Did anyone write that?
Josephus does talk about their them living
taller.
long. he talks about them living long and things like that, and then they're vegetarian and they live in communal things and like lifestyles, and like they have a simple diet and they fast, things like that. He talks about that, but I don't think he talks about anything that I've ever read Josephus that talks about them being tall or white.
Yeah,
I don't think he gives a
Josephus,
single physical description.
Yeah, the ancient historians that mention the Essenes are Josephus, Philo, and Pliny the Elder, and none of them mentioned the Essenes being tall.
Oh, that's right. Pliny
Essenes
does
were
mention
Jews living in the desert by the Dead Sea.
Yeah, they were schizo Jews, guys. Like they were schizo wilderness commie Jews. Like I don't know how else to describe. They were the ancient version of like the Antifa weird guy, or not even Antifa. Antifa would have been like the zealots maybe. But these guys were like out in the wilderness, like smoking weed or something maybe even. Like I don't think that there's like a whole lot of evidence for that, but like they were doing some sort of ascension rituals that involved changing your consciousness, we could say. Maybe it was because of fasting or breathing rituals or yoga, whatever the fuck. But they weren't 6 foot fucking Aryan Chads.
How crazy is it that like you fact check everything this guy says and it's all wrong?
Well, this is the thing. He's basing it off of like Robert Zephyr books. This is the type of way that Robert Zephyr books and things like that, like they say these types of facts. They present these types of things that are like theories as facts. That's what they're doing.
You know, they were almost like ascetic in some of their practices. Maybe stretching and some things that similar to like what we call yoga today. They were into poses.
Jesus was a Rasta. Jesus was a yogi.
Stretching and fortifying the body. These.
Is that you got so tall, Adam? You did lots of poses.
Like Wall Street.
Yeah. It's all the yoga I did with my wife.
Yoga.
All the really nice poses.
They were into poses, stretching and fortifying the body.
Vegan yogi Jesus. Vegan yogi white Aryan Jesus. Yeah. I like to picture Jesus as a white Aryan yoga vegan yoga instructor. That's funny.
These were not the temple Jews who were almost like Wall Street, finance bros, workers.
Most great men of history always wanted to be in shape too.
Yeah, so being a carpenter too, he probably he was a pretty strong guy, and basically Josephus and people like Josephus, people say, oh, Josephus was a Roman agent, all right, whatever. But people like him would write about the Essenes that they were much taller than the other Jews and that they lived far longer. So they actually lived. The Essenes were said to live over 100 years old. Routine.
You know what he's leaving out about the Essenes is that they were gay. They were definitely almost certainly gay, I would say. That's where Christianity gets its celibacy from, I think, is that because there's two things. So first of all, they describe them as like they're basically like not marrying and all these other different reasons, and they were mostly male. But then also in one of Josephus's writings, I think he writes that essentially like that a group of Essenes broke away to make their own sect who did marry, right? So that shows that they were basically gay, in my opinion. Like they're gay. They're gay incels or whatever you would call them. And then the Dead Sea Scrolls confirms this as well, I think. Who is it? Oh my God, what's his name? Kip Davis has done a video on this where he explains that essentially that the idea of monasticism or the idea of celibacy in Christianity was born out of this like Essene Dead Sea, the Dead Sea Scrolls are his evidence essentially. So there's like multiple different sources, Philo and Josephus, that talk about that, and then there's the Dead Sea Scrolls that confirm it. So he didn't even mention that they're gay. It's just kind of sad. It's Pride Month.
Celibate
You should be
and married branches. They had both. I've heard also that it was also some.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Families, yeah, they found kids and stuff also.
Well, Josephus says that it was a breakaway of their sect. He says that they founded a new version of the order, I think is the way he puts it, that could marry, right? So that itself shows that the original branch, or the way it's describing it is true. There was celibate branches and married branches of the Essenes, essentially. So there was like two different types of Essenes.
Yeah, I got it. Okay, look at this. Sometimes people encounter claims online that Josephus called the Essenes tall or well-built. These claims usually arise from misunderstanding of passages where he praises their discipline, endurance, or health. The surviving Greek texts do not contain a statement that Essenes were generally taller than any other Jews. So you're basing all of your theory on bullshit and misunderstanding.
So
it seems very possible within the right environment, right food, right, working out, that type of stuff.
Dude, this is so gay, too.
Jesus was probably like a 6 foot blonde haired Chad, don't you think, dude? Yeah, he was like working out and like lifting wood and shit and sawing. Totally, bro. Totally based in Chad.
All right, but the Native Americans.
I don't know how much more of this insanity I can handle.
Yeah, man.
You got at least this one or the Khazar one. The Khazar one is the good one. That's the one, or not the good one, but you know what I mean. The Khazar one is the. I can put it in the chat here for you.
Okay.
Yeah, man. All right, but the Native Americans, there are many artifacts that have been found across America with Hebrew writing on them, Paleo-Hebrew, even more, many more if we call it Phoenician, you know, what qualifies as Phoenician writing. There's dozens of those found across North America. And that, you know, Columbus saw what he thought were Hebrew traits. Now, remember, what is Mormonism? The reason we don't hear much about this lost tribe of Israel in America theory, the reason we don't hear about that anymore is because the Mormons kind of took that theory and made like a whole religion out of it. But, yes, that's what Mormons believe, is that the Americas were involved in the Bible, or extra-biblical events. So people from the Bible, people from, you know, Jews, basically, Israelites, got on a boat, went to America.
That is sort of true.
Florida,
like
according to
Joseph Smith is riffing off of like what like British Israelism and proto-British Israelism. He is doing like an American version of British Israelism, basically. That is 100% true, I would say.
Have any ancient Hebrew artifacts been found in America? No. Back Creek Stone is a forgery.
They're all
Los
forgeries.
Lunas Stone is a modern hoax.
Yeah.
Linguistic
The History Channel
issues.
goes over so many
The
of these
Newark
too.
Holy Stones,
Yeah.
19th century forgeries. Dude, all these people have is lies and forgeries.
It's the oldest tradition in Christianity, right? Like the whole thing is based off of this type of stuff and this type of artifact industry. The ancient world's artifact industry, at least post Constantine, would have been one of the biggest industries in Europe. Do you understand how crazy that is? In the Mediterranean, the religious artifacts and icons industry might have been the largest part of their economy at that point. How crazy is that? Selling and
It was
trading
actually
those types of
Viking
items.
Scandinavians that were the first to sail across the ocean and find America. And they want to credit the Hebrews for doing it.
Well, he
No
also thinks-
verified ancient Hebrew artifact has been found in the Americas. Everything this guy says is just bullshit. Just conspiratard Christian mental illness.
I didn't clip it up because it was so retarded. I didn't even want to really deal with it. But he thinks I understand. I don't want to deal with the Christopher Columbus, was he Jewish or not argument. But he basically thinks that Christopher Columbus was Jewish and that he knew that the ancient Israelites were trapped in Florida and that that's what he was aiming for. That Christopher Columbus, his mission, that Christopher Columbus was a secret crypto Jew, ancient Israelite as well, like a weird both thing, and that he was trying to get to Florida to find the Garden of what is it called, the Garden of Eden or the Fountain of Youth, and that's what Columbus was doing. That's what he actually believes, this guy.
Somebody told me too. I saw a reply. They're like, they talked to this guy and he called me a Gnostic informant feds. Dude, fuck you. You're a disinfo grifting piece of shit and an idiot shilling Jewish bullshit to everybody. If anybody's a fed, it's you and all this kosher disinfo trying to get all the Gentiles to stay on the Abrahamic plantation.
They run some conspiracy schizo bookstore in Florida, and he's like a Florida supremacist, is what I would call it. Like a esoteric Florida supremacist. Yeah.
Calls himself doctor. Is he a real
Florida, according to many of them.
Not that I could
actually
find.
then mixed in with the Native Americans, battled with Native Americans, created two distinct ethnic groups of Native Americans, lighter skin, darker skin. These people fight over hundreds of years, and eventually they bury the records of all these battles in their family in the ground. And
That's why he just had on Flat Earth
So
Days.
it's kind of like fan fiction.
He
Almost.
just nods to this
I have a lot
too.
of Mormons. I respect Mormons a lot. I like Mormons. I like their story. We sell Mormon literature here.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like fan fiction on what
Jake was more scared and pushed back and said he disagrees with me just saying the Bible's not real than any of
Absolutely.
these other kooky guests he ever brings on.
He pushed back way more on you than he ever has this guy on the entire. I watched this whole interview. Hold on, rewind it like 10 seconds. You got to see what he says here. It's crazy.
literature here. But it's kind of like fan fiction on what there was a little bit of evidence for Israelite people in these mounds that Joseph Smith was digging in when he was a young kid. And what I think happened was he pieced together some truth with a lot of his imagination.
He added a lot to it.
But what I think was true is that there were all these Hebrew artifacts all over America, and the Mormons just kind of stepped up and said, oh, well, we're going to try to explain it in our way, and that grew into this big religion. But
these are here before Columbus. These artifacts that were here before Columbus.
Oh, you believe in the golden plates then? Did this guy grow up Mormon? He looks like he could be a former Mormon. Mormon Christ brain.
Yeah, believed to be. So here's another book is I'll bring up 2 books real quick. Is The Seminoles of Florida by Minnie Moore Wilson. This is about the Seminole Indians here in Florida. They were like the last real wild Indians in America. They were chased down into Florida. They never surrendered. They're like the 300 Spartans, you know?
Yeah, they fought.
They were like the real 300 Seminoles here. You can look them up. And half of them got sent out to Oklahoma, but the rest who stayed in Florida got like this legendary status, like they never surrendered. And now they're loaded. The Seminole Indians were the first ones to do the casinos.
Oh,
okay? So, well, they're balling, but could that be evidence that they have some Jewish blood in them?
Oh my God!
The Seminole Indians aren't rich; they're loaded.
Dude, isn't that great?
Dude, now the Seminole Indians are. He calls them Jews. Wouldn't that be like lost tribes of Israel?
Yeah, that's what he's suggesting.
So
that's what he
Jews.
believes in that lore. He believes in that lore. Yeah, it's so stupid. He like mixes up the two things. You see that? He
I
like
think
mixes
I know
up the
why
categories.
YouTube allows both these guys to have big YouTube channels because they spew pure goy slop conspiratardation.
Well, if you go to my page, not you, but just the audience, and you type and you look for me, I posted a video that just scrolls through his YouTube videos and how many views he has on these things. It is full of the most ridiculous, stupid, conspiracy slop, low IQ bullshit, and it gets thousands and thousands of views. He's allowed to stay on YouTube, like you said. It's totally fucked.
Indian tribe, you're born wealthy. You get it. Yeah, look this up. So the Seminoles were the first.
The Jews of the Indians, I see.
Pretty much.
Vegas right now. You know, most people think it was like created by the Italian mafia, which they had the ties, but the Jewish mafia was more putting it together.
We know the Hard Rock Casino and Hard Rock Cafe, the Hard Rock Empire. That's the Seminole Indians. They own that.
Oh, wow.
They're billionaires. They're one of the.
They're definitely the Jewish Indians. Then.
They're one of the richest nations in the world. Nations. Yeah, and
They're the Jewish Indians. So remember, Jesus, not Jewish. Seminole Indians, Jewish. Just so everybody's clear on. If you're trying to keep score on in Jake Shields' world, like who is Jewish or not. And so whenever Jake Shields is criticizing Jews, make sure you guys make sure he's very clear. When you're talking about Jews, do you mean the Seminole Indian Jews, or is that what you're talking about? Because and you'll see it in this one too with the Khazar shit, dude. This fucking Khazar shit.
Okay,
I mean, this is the problem.
Of course, they're doing the Khazar disinfo too.
Oh yeah, that was the title of the video too. So he's getting it for clicks.
Oh, let's get into the Khazarians really quick. I know we kind of mentioned it, but I don't know why people get so worked up over that theory. Like some people get mad about it, or they want to say that's not really the Jews, it's the Khazarians. But it's just that doesn't really make any sense because they work hand in hand with the Sephardic Jews. I mean, first off, do you think the theory is mostly true? And then why do you think people get so like emotional over it?
So the Khazarian theory that many European Jews, especially Eastern European Jews, actually descend from the Khazarians, it's true, but with an asterisk, okay? There's always been a question about where did the Ashkenazi Jews originate from? Ashkenaz does not mean that they're descended from Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz means that they went to the land of Ashkenaz, the land that they used to call Ashkenaz, which is kind of like Germany, Poland, Hungary, like, Central Europe, Eastern Europe. That was historically referred to as the land of Ashkenaz, just like the land in Iberia was called Sephirat. So that's where Sephardic comes from. Just means that they went there. That became their name. So people get mixed up with that Ashkenaz. They say, oh, well, Ashkenaz was the son of Japheth, or was one of Japheth's descendants, so they're not even Semitic. Don't get too hung up on that. Some people do. But then when we get to the Khazarians, it's true that the nobility and the king of Khazaria did mass convert, but it's debated as to how much of the peasantry or the lower classes actually converted. We know that it's widely accepted that the nobility converted to Judaism sometime between 700 and 900 in the Khazarian Empire. Well, another thing is, do we ever learn about the Khazarian Empire in school? No. They were a huge force to be reckoned with back then. We learn about Byzantine and Ottoman and Persian and all this stuff, but they don't really talk about this big question mark right there. And again, it's kind of what links like a Kazakhstan kind of has that similar root. Probably
because they don't know a whole lot about it, right?
But imagine thinking like the proof is that we don't teach it in school. It's totally irrelevant. And real quick, I want to just like address one of the things that he said earlier. Like Jake was like, oh, I don't understand why people get so emotional and mad about it. You know what I mean? And I feel like in a way that's, I obviously get pretty heated with this stuff. Maybe he's referencing that space where I chimped out on his friends that we're promoting it. I don't know. But regardless, as somebody who gets emotional and mad about it, the reason that we get mad about it is because we've done all this work trying to teach people about Jews are, and then at the very last second, someone's sweeping in and saying, oh no, they're not actually Jews, they're fake Jews, and they're blaming it on this group of people that do not exist and are not relevant to the discussion. Okay, there isn't no evidence that the origins of Ashkenazi Jews are from the Khazar population, okay? To what degree there might have been a conversion, it was not large enough to in any way basically determine like the identity group or the genetics or the population size of Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi Jewish population migrated from west to east. They started near the Rhineland and in northern Italy and places like that, and they moved eastwards towards the Pale of Settlement, Poland, Lithuania, into Ukraine and places like that. The movement was not the opposite direction by Khazars. Period. The end. Okay. So when any of you guys do that, whenever we see this, we have to like really make fun of Khazar theory. It is retarded.
Yeah. Why do we get emotional? Why do we get mad about this? Because it's a deflection. It's a diversion. Disinfo that's a diversion. We have Jews that believe in Judaism, and you want to come along and say they're not Jews and they don't believe in Judaism, or they don't believe in the Torah, or they got some secret Edomite Baal Moloch or Khazarian phallus worship, like some secret plot of Khazarians. You're distracted, confused, and chasing ghosts that don't exist. That's the problem.
Yeah, there's no anti-Khazarian league. Also, like I said earlier, Israel, the state of Israel is not a majority Ashkenazi Jew. So even if the Ashkenazi were like secret Khazars, okay, the problem is not just Ashkenazis. Sephardic and Mizrahim are like part of this conversation, part of like international world Jewish power and Jewry. Okay, they're part of the state of Israel. And they're part of like their political system. Okay, and to sit there and be like, oh, it's Khazars that are doing it, and Bibi's a Khazar and Shmueli's a Khazar. It totally is a false view of reality of what like the political reality of Jewish power is. It's a totally wrong way to look at it. It's like dividing them amongst and saying like, those Khazar Jews are bad, but the rest are good.
They'll take it to the extreme and they'll say they have no Hebrew DNA. They're not the Jews of the Bible. They're not the same people. They're like, they'll say all that.
Well, he says at one point, I don't have it in this clip, but he says at one point, he promotes the lie that they say, like, there's no DNA tests allowed in Israel. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say it in this clip. He said it like a little bit after, but how like they're getting their information from memes, guys. Like everyone sees these memes online, right? Which that means that we have to make our own memes. We have to like bully their memes off the page, essentially. Because basically this guy is somebody who got red pilled on this topic in the last like 5 to 6 years, probably. Okay. And, you know, he's basically a noob and he's been red pilled by what? By memes on his timeline. So we had to like replace those with what's going like with the true
memes. Yep.
Yeah.
And Ukraine.
Khazars were Central Asians. Yeah, they weren't even they're not even Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
Why are many? Why is the global leftist media establishment so on board with Israel and Ukraine? Those two conflicts seem to go hand in hand. They seem to almost be two fronts of the same battle in a way. And
they do. Zelensky said he wants Ukraine to be a big Israel. He's Jewish. Most people probably know they're watching, but the president of Ukraine is Jewish, and he's in Epstein files, all these times.
And that's a Russian. That's a Russian psyop too.
Yeah,
totally.
Do you
Russian
not know
psyop.
the context of him saying that they're going to be a big Israel? He meant like having a military border against an enemy. That's what he meant.
Well, no. I actually think that in the context of that is he's saying he wants to be like as much as we're sending to Ukraine as for support, and how it's like this big deal and like giving off more support for Ukraine became like such a political issue at the time he's talking about. He wants Israel to be that like, oh, we need to fund Israel more. We need to give Israel more. He wanted to like replace Ukraine in our minds with how we're funding foreign wars, basically. It's I think the context of that quote, because we covered it when he said it. I think that's what he's talking about.
I've covered it a few times.
He goes far beyond him with the Jewish connections, but it's a little bizarre.
Well, he so whatever, Ukraine, Israel, kind of the same thing. That goes back to the Khazarians. So the Khazarians, in part, they originate in that kind of area loosely, and over time they made their way into Europe, Central Europe, Western Europe, giving up their previous occupation as kind of like this ruling class of this empire. They then were distancing themselves and merging into the surrounding populations, and slowly made their way west to Germany. So kind of over from Ukraine, almost like Russia, slowly over a couple hundred years made their way to Germany. That's where families like the Rothschilds and them end up in Germany. Now, the Khazarian thing has a lot of truth to it. But again,
they literally came from Strasbourg and shit,
Slavs or people out there.
Yeah, it's a west to east expansion.
Or like full-blooded Khazarians.
This guy doesn't even know about Strasbourg.
Yeah, it was really just the nobility who converted to Judaism and then kind of took the wealth that they'd absorbed in that area and then moved into Western Europe. That's where the whole thing becomes a question mark, because they already yeah, you can't know exactly for sure who's who. And also, there was already this question of where do the Ashkenazi Jews come from? That's already a question that is not fully answered.
We don't fully know, yeah. Well, also, don't want to get too off track, but just like Jacob Frank.
They do know. They've done genetic studies. They share DNA going back to the Middle East with the Sephardic, and they're mixed in with some European. They do know.
and sabotage Zevi, or like Jacob Frank was in Poland, he mass converted his people to Christianity, but they kept practicing their weird.
See how he mixes it with that too? Sabotage Zevi shit
to Islam, and they can trace them to the Young Turks. I think they call it the Dome, the massacre, the Armenian genocide tracks directly to his converts, but they were secretly practicing Judaism or weird, a weird version of it.
Totally. Yeah, that's a little bit.
Okay, Jake. According to your analogy there, Jacob Frank converted to Christianity with a few of his followers. Does that mean that Christians don't exist anymore, and they're all Sabbaty and Frankists now? Because that's the argument you're making for Ashkenazis.
Later on from the Khazarian thing, 700, 900 is when people point to the.
Well, I think Zabi and Zevi was like 1600, so that was way later. This is like more like recent times. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's they all connect together because people love to focus on the Khazarian thing as if like we've all heard people say, oh no, those are the bad Jews. Like, all the other ones are good. It's just the Khazarians. Well, put the Khazarians to one side. Okay, remember at pretty much the exact same time between 700 and 900, there's at least 100,000, 200,000 Jews in Iberia. The Sephardic Jews. They'd later become known as Sephardic, but they're the ones who let the Muslims in. They're the ones who are welcoming the Muslims, aiding the Muslims. When Muslims fully take over, they call it the Jewish Golden Age. And then, so the Khazarians had nothing to do with that. Are we going to call those ones the good ones? Like, oh, those are the great ones that we need to make peace with today? Not exactly.
I never want to watch this guy again. After this, here's their vegetarian. I think they're both vegetarians. I believe their brains need some meat. Christ brain mixed with grain brain, not a bad combo for the peasant. It gives you a peasant goyim brain.
Oh yeah, 100%. And this whole beef tallow and all this kind of last push by the beef industry to keep big beef alive. It's really just byproducts, waste products. This tallow that everyone.
Yeah, dude. No, but people don't just love cheeseburgers and steak and ribs. Yeah, they have to push their propaganda to make people like eating meat. Nobody just likes the smell of barbecue. It's all propaganda. Come on, dude. I use beef tallow, whipped beef tallow. My wife bought a big jar of it. That's what I use on my face if I got like sun or if I'm feeling dry after the shower. Lather up in tallow. They call it like zombie juice or some stupid shit. Yeah, humans have been spreading themselves with animal fats as moisturizers to protect from the elements for tens of thousands of years.
It's waste products. This tallow that everyone thinks is a health tonic that's going to cure everything wrong with them. It's sludge. It's zombie sludge. It's the rendered fat of a corpse. People say, oh no, it's just the nice little fat from around the liver and the kidneys, and it's the choicest fat. No, guys. Tallow is a waste product. People make their own tallow, and they use knuckle fat. They use joint fat, the nastiest parts of the animal you wouldn't touch.
Dude, there's nothing nasty about cartilage or joints. Nasty. Ugh, the joints are so nasty. That's where you get all the good cartilage, actually, and the good fats. Oh, meat is yucky. Chat says he's a cannabis connoisseur.
Joint fat, the nastiest parts of the animal you wouldn't touch. And so whatever, I feel strongly about this stuff too. And another misconception is that vegetarianism is somehow part of the New World Order or this agenda. Well, Jesus's vision of the future was pretty vegetarian. Some of the prophets leading up to Jesus as well. The vision, like we said last time, the lion will lay with the lamb, the lion will lay with the wolf, or the wolf will lay with the lamb, and the lion will eat straw. If that's not a vegetarian, paradise.
Dude, imagine interpreting that as pro-vegetarian. They're saying the Messiah will come when it rained cats and dogs. That's basically what they're saying right there. Because everybody knows the lion doesn't lay with the lamb. Dude, is there any one verse in the Bible that Jesus promotes? Yeah.
I was going to say, Kabbalistically, they view it as like the predicting of future technology, in which you could basically, like, using some sort of technology, make the literal, make that happen. Does that make sense? That's how they view it Kabbalistically, right? Where they think it's like basically like a hyperstition, essentially. I mean,
Were the Essenes vegetarian? I know there was vegetarianism sects. Yeah, there's no verse in the Bible where Jesus explicitly promotes vegetarianism or commands people to avoid eating meat. He thinks it was Jesus's whole shtick to be a vegan, and not once in the Bible. Not once.
Yeah, I actually, as far as his claims go, because I watched the whole thing, this is actually probably the most defendable one, though, right? Like, if Jesus was a historical guy, he likely was an Essene, correct? Like, we can
Or
admit that.
Ebionite. Ebionites claim Jesus was a vegetarian.
Well, Ebionites also had weird value.
Hey,
like,
the people, I don't
views.
think Jesus existed, but the people that invented him may have been religious vegetarians.
Oh,
I don't
that too.
dismiss
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, if there was a historical guy, there is maybe a 50% chance at least, you would say, that he was a vegetarian of some kind. So I'll at least grant him it's like the least kooky thing he said is that.
Yeah, no, it's true. There were Jewish sects that were vegetarians. They were doing other ascetic things.
And it makes sense.
But if you believe that King James Bible is the true Bible and Jesus never once anywhere says anything about being a vegetarian, you don't get up here and say, oh yeah, Jesus was he wanted a vegetarian world because the lion's going to lay with the lamb. Like, it's not an endorsement of vegetarianism, dude. Come on.
He definitely believes in vegan sharks, by the way.
Oh yeah, vegan sharks before the fall, definitely.
The wolf will lay with the lamb and the lion will eat straw. If that's not a vegetarian, paradise in the future, I don't know what is.
Well, everyone wants to eat bugs, not vegetarian. They're literally saying you'll eat the bugs.
Exactly. Now, Bill Gates' favorite food to this day is a beef hamburger, a cheeseburger. He pushes beef on people way more than he ever has vegetarian food.
What do you mean? Doesn't he have Impossible Beef? Isn't that his? They're trying to make these 3D printed fake meats also?
Yeah, I guess.
No, we can't blame him for trying
He's
to
like
get rich
mixing
off
all the conspiracies together. They're they're really dumb. They're just not smart people. I don't know, that's who's allowed on these platforms like this.
They need protein in their brain, yeah. Humans evolved for, forever, not ever, for 100,000 years, 50,000 years, eating meat. The human species would not survive, especially in Europe or colder climates away from, the equator where they can eat fruit all day.
Well, there's like some scientists who believe that like the act of eating and cooking meat is what gave us the ability to have the brain density and capacity to think and reason. Do you guys like I don't know, if you want to be a vegetarian, I guess that is what I actually am totally against. I think it's very bad. We should actually be doing the opposite.
You're malnourished, I believe.
Yeah, we should be eating things that promote that more, actually. We should basically be like brain maxing our people. We should be eating things and ingesting things that make our brain capacity way more dense. We should be going out and using science to figure out what does that the most and eating that, which is likely meat. And different types of meat.
My ancestors in the northwestern cold survived with big, huge pots of stews where they threw in all parts of the animals in there, mixing different animals, mixing other things that they grew or they foraged. And if we didn't eat meat, we would not be here.
But he's been pushing meat far harder on humanity than he has ever pushed vegetarianism. And his vision for the future, exactly right, Jake, is lab-grown meat, fake meat. That's what he's proposing. So, vegetarianism, I think of Plato, Pythagoras, Socrates, whatever. But
lots of greats. I'm trying to think. I know tons of the greats. What's the other one?
Tesla.
The greats.
Tesla, Da Vinci.
He's familiar with all those. Plato, Socrates.
Yeah, there's no greats that ate meat, I'm sure. Only the greats that don't eat meat.
Jake has read a lot of Plato and Socrates. What do you guys think? What do you think the chances that he's read any of that?
Yeah, good point. If vegetarian is so healthy, then how come they also require all these other supplements to meet their nutrition?
Yeah, it's
like
a
vitamin
modern
B6 being the biggest one.
Yeah, it's a modern luxury to be able to be a vegetarian.
Exactly.
Why people get so defensive become vegetarian, but it was not.
Yeah.
But
Jake is so awkward.
I just want to bring up one thing too. He mentioned this earlier. The golden age of the Jews was when Muslims took over Spain and things like that. And I just want to real quick say about that. The Iberian Peninsula was taken over by Visigoths who were Arian Christian. They believed in a different type of Christology than Nicene Trinitarian Christianity, and they basically went in, took it over, and they were Northern Europeans, Germanic tribes, likely from Scandinavia or Northern Germany, and they came into that area and they migrated into that area of Iberia, okay? And that kingdom as Arian Christians, they let in the Jews, but because Arian Christianity is so Unitarian, they basically fell in love with the Jews. Adam, you talk about this, right? That Arian Christianity would have been more Noahide compliant even, right? So there's actually a version where, imagine if that won out, how things would have been and how different things would have been, right? So the Arian Visigoths basically are loving the Jews. And what happens is the Trinitarian Church ends up winning out, taking over that place. The Arians convert to Trinitarian Christian, or the Visigoths convert to Trinitarian Christians, and then they kick out the Jews. They kick out the Jews to northern Africa, okay? And what happens is, because the Jews are scorned by this, they're mad about this. They're literally calling, the Jews at this time are calling those Visigoths that kicked them out, they're calling them Esau for doing this to them. And they kick them out to northern Africa and Morocco and the dynasties there in from Tunisia to Morocco, and they basically staged what is called like the invasion of Iberia comes from those Jews that were kicked out into North Africa. Those Jews team up with the Muslims there, and that's what makes the Muslim conquest of Spain go all the way up into Europe. If that wasn't stopped by the Charles Martel and the Franks at the time, like, we could have actually seen a Noahidification of Europe, like a Muslim Europe could have happened because of that. And then Christians today want to like pound their chest and say, oh, without us, we defended against the Muslims. What they did is it's a perfect play of seeing how they use the broom of Ishmael, and they view Christians and Europeans as Esau, and that whole dialectic, it gets played out in medieval Spain, and we see it kind of crescendo in the expulsion of the Jews that leads to them going to the Ottoman Empire in a lot of ways, or becoming conversos, right, which leads to a whole bunch of other issues. And when they get expelled to the Ottoman Empire, what happens there? The same thing. The Ottoman Empire gets a supercharge because it gains all these Jews, right? So it basically is playing up to this idea of the Abrahamic matrix itself. How it works and how they play the Muslims and Christians off each other is seen in the story of Iberia's history with Christianity and this quote unquote golden age of Judaism he talked about there. The golden age itself was because of the exact thing that we're talking about, when the Muslims went and retook the area that they were expelled from evil Esau by, and they were let back in by what? By the broom of Ishmael. That's how the story of Iberia is something that we need to look back and understand.
Carmelo Anthony's defense team has rested its case. Uh-oh, he's cooked. It's over then in the murder trial. Dude, seeing a way a lot of these blacks are defending Carmelo Anthony and lying their asses off and justifying it, I cannot live in a society with people that think like that. It makes me so mad. I can't even get into it and cover much. But a couple more things, and we're going to wrap it here, and we'll be back tomorrow, guys. Dan Bilzerian says, Ephesians 6:11, put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. And then one of our guys, Arifai, says, what's your thoughts on Isaiah 61:6? Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles. And he says, lot of Jewish bullshit in the Old Testament. So close. So, it's all Jewish bullshit, and so is the New Testament, Dan. Close, though.
Isn't it funny how he seems to think like there's parts of the Jewish or of the Old Testament that like, oh, there's that's like, this implies that there's a non-Jewish parts of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
There's like a
says, can I get an early life check on the Bible? Oh, he deleted that too, apparently.
Yeah, he did. A lot of people were roasting him for this one. It's kind of funny. Yeah. It shows that guys, like this is important. The perception of who's winning the replies, for whatever reason in our monkey brains, that matters more than anything. The perception that you're winning, or the perception that other people agree with what we're saying.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Oh, here, let's hear this Zionist kvetch about it a little bit.
They always reveal.
Dude, look at what our guy, good job, Arifai.
Yeah, dude, amazing.
Arifai, the perfect verse to press Dan on, and he does that. It's so good. Look at what the butterfly effect of what he started.
They always reveal who they are. Always. By their fruits you shall know them, just as our Lord Jesus Christ says in Matthew chapter 7, Sermon on the Mount. Here is Dan Bilzerian, full-on Nazi, total, complete Nazi, Dan Bilzerian, and total Islamic terrorist sympathizer. And he himself has declared that his desire is to take up arms, go to Israel, and slaughter Israelis. That's what he wants. Dan Bilzerian is genuinely one of the most vile, despicable, evil, scummiest scum of the earth, children on the whole armor of God. Verse 6. But ye shall be named the priests of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God.
How's he
Ye
going to
shall eat
address
the
this?
riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. Also, extraordinary passage, beautiful passage from arguably the greatest of the major prophets, Isaiah.
He loves it.
Isaiah, who our Lord Jesus Christ does quote from many times in his ministry, and also quotes directly from this very chapter. Isaiah 61, he quotes from it in the synagogue of Nazareth as recorded in Luke chapter 4. And Dan Bilzerian's response to this is a lot of Jewish bullshit in the Old Testament. They always reveal who they are. Children of hell.
So we're children of hell if we don't think it's great that the Jews are going to eat the riches of the Gentiles. That makes us children of hell. Dan, you should have left that up, and you should say the whole Bible is Jewish bullshit. Come on. He can't do it, though. You know why? All the Christians and Muslims that support him will be like, wait a second. You can't say that. It's real. They're not real Jews. That's the cope. They worship the devil anyway. They don't believe the Torah. It's only Talmud.
Well, the real problem is that they think this is the solution. Right? Like we have this problem, there's the Zionism problem, our societies are not sovereign problem, all these things. And they think the solution is like pray real hard and be real Christian, you know?
Yeah. Put on the armor of God like the New Testament says.
Yeah, that's actually not the answer. That's actually just like part of the problem, but it wouldn't be an issue if they weren't doing that. Before we head out, do you want to do the Mormon thing real quick?
Not really. I gotta run 2.5 hours.
Oh shit! All right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for the donos. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment below. Sign up for Substack. Buy the book on Amazon. Follow at More Amalek at Need More Amalek on Twitter.
It's more_Amalek. Yep. I'll just throw it in the chat.
And in honor, of course, of Jake Shields and his love for white Aryan Jesus, we're going to go out with High in Hyperborea, Jake's new favorite reggae song.
I bet you
should
that guy
have
would love
Evan
this.
Williams on next. That would be based.
That would be based.
Yep. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
King Selassie was Jesus in blackface, hiding from Babylon. Roman oppressors never knew he didn't die on the cross. He escaped to Jamaica. On 420, Yeshua smokes the herbal chalice and curses Hitler's birthday. Christ gonna get high in Hyperborea. Yeshua gonna mash down Babylon. Yeshua was a Rasta. His eyes are blue and he's not a Jew. Yeshua was a Rasta. He's as blonde as the Lebanese ash he smokes. Yeshua was a Rasta. His pure iron DNA is the most potent strain the world has ever seen. Christ gonna get high in Hyperborea.
I think we need to red pill Jake on Rasta Jesus.
Down Babylon, Yeshua was a Rasta. He smokes cross-shaped joints every day. Yeshua was a Rasta. He's not brown like hash, he's white like deity diamond. Was a Rasta. He would smoke hookah on a donkey and teach from the Torah like a true Hyperborean Rasta man. Christ gonna get high, high, high. High in Hyperborea. Yeshua gonna mash, mash, mash. Down Babylon. Yeshua was a Rasta. His eyes are blue and he's not a Jew. Yeshua was a Rasta. He's as blonde as the Lebanese ash he smoke. Yeshua was a Rasta. His pure iron DNA is the most potent strain the world has ever seen. Christ gonna get high, high, high. High in Hyperborea. Yeshua gonna mash, mash, mash. Down Babylon. Yeshua was a Rasta. High in Hyperborea. Was a Rasta. Down Babylon. Was a Rasta. High in Hyperborea. Was a Rasta. High in Hyperborea.